Guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited because I've definitely forgotten information in the first one. The Brickman. All right, guys, this is Bricky's Every Single Warhammer 40k Faction Re-Explained, Part 1. Okay, guys, this is going to be a big thing. I don't know when Part 2 is coming out, but let's see. Let's see where he gets. I've already seen some Bricky stuff, already seen the faction video. Now we're getting the Re-Explained one. Let's see what's different because I've already forgotten a lot of this information, even though I've been getting into Warhammer. It's just a lot. So this will be a good refresher. 3 parts? Oh my God, 6 hours. Okay, let's do it, guys. Ready, set, go.
In the kind brightness of the far past, there was no war. Our galaxy was, for a long time, fairly empty and quiet. The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the Old Ones, cosmic entities that traveled across the galaxy with ease and seeded life through the stars. Shortly thereafter, a new species began to arise. The Necron tier. Evolving under the harshness of a devastatingly powerful star, the short-lived and irradiated Necron tier try to find the secret to eternal life and to be freed from their terrible existence. As they expand through the stars, they find the Old Ones and they plead to them to share the secrets of the universe and grant them purchase from their short and painful existence.
Damn, I didn't know the Necrons were like that. I didn't know their lives were just short and they just wanted to, you know, life basically sucked. The
Old Ones respond with a lol and a lamau, and with their immense power, they force them back to their homeworld. The Necron tier, filled with rage and hatred, make it their duty to get revenge on the Old Ones. A revenge that would come swiftly as a chance encounter with other gods gave them a solution. These other gods were known as the C'tan, a race of highly powerful star-consuming entities. Do not fear, young mortals, for we, the C'tan, will provide you with the immortality you seek. Come now, won't you shake a poor sinner's hand? Quoted from Mephron, the
Holy shit!
Deceiver.
It's a literal quote! He cooked so hard. He did. Oh my God, I can already tell right now. I'm so excited. And also, I forget that the C'tan, like I remember the C'tan, but like I couldn't remember their name. I know it's like the Necrons, like hated boys.
The Necron tier accepted the C'tan's offer of immortality, but believe it or not, this turned out to be a ruse, a trick.
The Deceiver deceived.
Uncrafted gigantic furnaces and began the process of biotransference. The Necron tier willingly walked line by line into the furnace engines made by gods who devour stars and had their souls consumed instead. The short-lived, irradiated, and cancer-inflicted race of the Necron tier ceased to be, and the immortal, soulless Necrons remained.
Okay, so Necron tier was like the pre-Necron. Gotcha. Oh my God. They had it's a Princess and a Frog reference. Oh, okay.
Now backed by the immense power of the C'tan, the Necrons rally against the Old Ones, and the bitter conflict in the stars at this time is known as the War in Heaven.
Okay, so wait a second. My big thing is like the C'tan are also the deceivers, really.
Creating various races and entities to aid them in this battle, the Old Ones are overwhelmed and eradicated down to the last. Due to the power of the C'tan fat off the souls of the Necron tier, and with an army of unthinkable robotic slaves at their behest.
However, my God.
The C'tan are greedy, spiteful gods, and when there was no foe worth killing, they turn on each other. The Necrons then put their sights towards the C'tan and lay waste to them.
God, wouldn't it suck if these guys got put in some kind of big jail in the middle of the sky or something?
Their freedom. The once subservient Necrons now control their former masters. Worn out and weakened by these wars, the Necrons, under their leader Zarek, the Silent King, lie dormant with a plan to eventually wake and reclaim control over the galaxy.
Wouldn't it suck if they woke up at like a really bad time? Have you ever wanted a huggable, cute little plush of me? Well, you can get one. There's like 10 left. You can maybe get one if you're fast enough. There's 10 left. This is overstock for my birthday drop back in October. So if you would like one, go ahead and check it on the link below. And it is also like not a pre-order. So they'll come in like pretty soon. So yeah, if you want one, check it out. Thanks. Bye.
Over millions of years, empires rise and they fall. The species created by the Old Ones have footholds over the galaxy, but on a pale blue dot in the thick of all this conflict, humanity begins to evolve. And for the most part, the basic path of humanity's evolution remains the same as it is now for almost 15,000 years.
Okay.
Right now, in the 21st century, this is canon. You, right now, Twitch streamer reacting to this video, you existed at a point in the Warhammer universe.
I looked at Enos! Guys! I have, those eyes feel so real right now. He looked into your soul and said, he said he's cool with it. Guys, make sure you click on the link, watch the video, give him a like, give him a subscribe. Get Glitchstar's permission for it. He's given specifically me permission. I don't think he cares. Actually, I think instead of giving me like, hey, Sonny, you're good to stream, I think his response was, I don't really care. So I think he doesn't care about people reacting. That being said, you gotta go watch this video.
But with time, humanity's ambition and the power of their technology becomes unmatched, and the golden age of expansion begins. Humanity starts to branch out through the stars with powerful tools used for agriculture, mining, and expansion. Some
Guys, I want to be cryo-frozen and then woken up during that era.
branches of humanity would eventually settle far away from Earth itself. And around this time, the psychic ability of humans are greatly expanded, and what we begin to know as psychers appear. But despite all the progress, things would begin to collapse. The machines created to aid humanity would turn on them in M23, an event known as the Cybernetic Revolt, and trade would begin to collapse due to the immaterial warp, aka actual hell, beginning to cause ruptures in space and time. These
wait, I don't know why. What was this? What was this footage? Was it like Ohio or something?
These warp stones would separate humanity, and this would be what is known as the Age of Strife.
Cleveland, Ohio.
A sea of souls, storing all thought, emotion, and the souls of those who have passed on begin fluctuating into something terrible, as far on the horizon, something horrendous was brewing. You see,
guys, every time you have thought a thought, it's in the warp, right? I just want you to think about that. You're storing the warp up right now. If you could basically send any thought to 40k, you can start now. Start sending those thoughts.
The warp isn't just a random assortment of
all my hentai is in the warp. No, Shinobi, get it out of there. Slaanesh eating good.
Energy.
My Sonic OCs are in the warp? Dude, what? You have to give it back. That's for me and me alone. Wait a second. She doesn't want to be in the warp. She wants to be free. Sunny Bunny, no. Leave her alone. Sunny pegging the tiny man is the warp. I didn't peg him. You know what? Keep her there. No, I want to punch it. No, this is beautiful. That's the worst Bond being I've ever seen one. That's me. That's my Sonic Sona.
It is fairly well organized thanks to those living in the galaxy. The warp itself acts as an afterlife of sorts, and the actions of the innumerable amount of creatures who live in the galaxy have manifested a pantheon of organized entities known as the Forces of Chaos. There are three major entities, Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. However, a fourth one, Slaanesh, was about to be born.
Okay, guys, so I have a question. Is Slaanesh like a chaos god they added later? Or was like always the quote unquote new chaos god? Or like, I ask because I'm very unclear and uncertain. That bakery. Oh my God, there's a little bit of a bakery back there. Always. Okay, always there. So there were always four. I thought like there was a new one. She's the newest, but like she wasn't added. She was like original to the lore. So like in 1980, Slaanesh was part of the lore. Always there in lore because she's been like 30k. Gotcha. Okay. Good. And I know about the other guy who's like the contender to become the fifth chaos god, the war the weapons dealer. What was like something, I can't remember his name. Oh, Vashtor. I want Vashtor to be a dude. My guy is like the weapons bank of the warp. That guy sounds fucking cool, and he's ultra organized. The boy! Here comes the boy. Hello, boy. Slaanesh, the demon of demonetizing YouTube videos. That's true. All right, guys.
Ancient Eldar were one of the first species created by the Old Ones.
Oh, God.
And due to their extreme and unbridled excess, the birthing of tore a hole in the galaxy and forever split the Eldar into those of the craft world, who sought to bring their species back together, and those of the Drukhari, who wished to continue what caused the birth of Slaanesh in the first.
Guys, which one are you on? I honestly, look at that Hex World art. I would do anything to be on a Hex World. I just got off a cruise ship. I want a Hex ship. Give me a Hex World.
The birthing of this fourth Chaos God settled the warp storms of the Imperium and ended the Age of Strife, but humanity was still fractured. So one man revealed himself and spearheaded an immense attempt to reunite all the fractured pieces of humanity. That man was the Emperor of Mankind. After reclaiming the nearly destroyed Earth, the Emperor embarked on the unification wars to unite humanity under the banner of the Imperium of Man. However, due to the very long and devastating impact of the Age of Strife, humanity as we know it is not the same. To conquer Earth, the Emperor would need more than mere men.
Guys, is the Age of Strife the AI age, basically, when we're fighting our robots and our demons? Or am I mistaken? Yeah, that's it. Okay. I get there's a lot of ages, and I just want to make sure I get it. Okay, yes.
Beings known as the Thunder Warriors were recruited by the Emperor to reclaim the Earth with ease. But these warriors are a blunt tool and had
Thunder Warriors
overstayed their welcome. He would need something better, and that solution would be known as the Space Marines.
I didn't know there was like a prequel. The Thunder Warriors, are these still in? I guess they've been gone forever. Like, you can't get a legion.
Superhuman soldiers that will have the skill and cunning exponentially greater than the mortal man. These new warriors would be commanded by an elite group of his very own sons known as the Primarchs. Unfortunately though, Daddy didn't charge the baby monitor, and his 18 sons would be stolen by the forces of chaos and scattered across the galaxy. This would begin a great crusade, a monumental task to take back the stars in the name of humanity and reclaim the lost Primarch sons. However,
I didn't know that's what the Crusades were for. There's only one left, and he's in a infinite vault. Wait, what? 19 sons, 18 sons, 19? 2 got retconned. The two of them were like the original player characters. Like, you could make your own legion, and so like you could have a Chaos Legion or like an Allied or Imperium of Man Legion. 19. One was a set of twins. Oh, okay. So one is dead. Like, canonically, twins are counted. Oh, the twins are counted as one though, right? Loyalists. That's what I'm looking for. In my eyes, wait. Okay. He said 18. I think one is twins, but there are 18 legions. Okay. After your 15th child, you lose count. Were there 20? Did I have 18? I'm so curious if they'll do something with that and be like, here's the Lost Primarch. Because there's like, in the lore right now, it's basically like they've been gone for a long time. Like, right? So that's, if they're not going to have playable legions, they're probably going to introduce new legions. It's a good way to like drive the plot forward.
He would need the fires of industry to make this happen. Looking to the distant cousins of Mars, the Emperor signed a treaty with the technologically irradiated hellscape of the Red Planet and allowed the cult of the machine god, the Mechanicum, to supply his crusade. While
Praise the Omniscience.
Were the tip of the spear, their numbers pale to the vast might of the Imperial Army and Navy, the Astra Militarum, and their seemingly endless numbers of fighting force for humanity, supplied by the intelligence and prowess of various agents of the Imperium, such as rogue traders and assassins. Due to the lack of connectivity in worlds, what a society had become over thousands of years became mysterious and varied. Tools once used for harvesting and agriculture now are being used as machines of war in the form of Imperial Knights. Some of these factions of humanity would even be changed further and become unrecognizable to the average human, with differences in size, skin color, appendages, cat ears sometimes. Some would go
What? Cat pet girls are canon?
Far to become their own galactic
Wide
societies,
presidents
like the miners of the galactic core and their immense supercomputers,
Why is he so wide?
forming the Leagues of Votann. After an incredible amount of effort and books, the lost sons of the Emperor would be reunited, and the Imperial
Oh, man, they're called felinids. Really? Oh my god. We don't know what they actually look like. Oh, please just make them furries. It would be so funny. Rock and
of
Stone!
Man would be firmly established. This, however, would not last. Be it intentional or accidental, the Emperor would not reveal to his sons the true nature of the galaxy and the terrors of the warp. And this oversight would result in one of the most impactful wars in humanity's history. The favorite son of the Emperor, Horus, would fall to the powers of chaos and turn on his father.
So I'm reading in the first 200 pages of Horus Rising. It's very, very clear that like the upper echelons of the Luna Wolves are very aware of the warp. They just don't tell other people, the like lower ranking, about it. So I guess this is like, I guess he still falls to it, and I'm so curious because falling to it. I guess I gotta read the book, huh?
Betrayal, this backstabbing,
I'm
this
on book 5, I know,
heresy,
right?
this Horus heresy would result.
Guys, come on. Round of applause for that one. I want to see some claps in this chat right now. Come on, guys. Absolute fucking cinema. I am so pleased. All right, I'm pleased, guys. This Horus heresy. He's so proud of himself.
In a split in the Imperium with devastating consequences. Half of the Emperor's loyal sons would fall to chaos and become the Chaos Space Marines, along with the forces of the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knights. The conflict would result in the absolute obliteration of Horus and the physical death of the Emperor himself.
What is this
The
picture?
near-dead body of the Emperor would be placed on the Golden Throne to serve as a beacon of humanity and allow for the continued ability to travel the stars, protected by his most loyal, the Adeptus Custodes.
Guys, I have a question, and this is a genuine one. Can no one else sit on this thing? Like, I know that people have sat on it and, like, died, right? Like, cannot even, like, let's say Magnus were to sit on this, like a crazy psyker. No one. No, okay. Let's say they die instantly. Malkander didn't die instantly. There's been people who have sat on it for, like, a day. Okay, so, like, Sister Celeste, right? Celestine? She's a beacon. Magnus was designed to sit on it. He was what? Magnus was meant to sit on the throne. Oh my god. Okay, I'm trying to think of like, because Sister Celestine, right? She goes into the warp. She just flies in and she accidentally leads people out of it by being so bright. Like people will actually be like lost in the warp and unable to look out because they'll see demons and shit. But they'll be able to register her and follow her out. So she'll literally bring armies she didn't think she was going. Isn't a psyker. Okay, she's not a psyker, but she just has the light. Dude, I gotta know more.
The Imperium would be vulnerable during this age of rebirth, and Terra would find itself under siege by one of the most formidable species in the galaxy, the Orcs. As time went on and memories of the Emperor began to fade, the Emperor would become less of a head of state and more of a religious figure, and the Imperium would change to reflect this. The leadership on a planet would be at the behest of the High Lords of Terra, and their actions would be courtesy of the incomparable power and authority of the Inquisition.
Guys, I'm just saying, if anyone could sit on there for like, I don't know, a decade or something, won't the Emperor come back because he's like in a forever guy? I don't know. Celestine is making a demon of the Emperor. That is negotiated. Whether or not Celestine is a demon. Doesn't know how long it takes Emperor to come back. Darn it!
The zealots of the Imperium would intensify and create a brand new era known as the Age of Apostasy. And this ecclesiarchal command of the Imperium would end up with one of the strongest fighting forces of Terra, the Adeptus Sororitas. Over time, this age would come to pass, and we would approach the 40th millennium of Warhammer 40,000.
Yo! That's her, she's so beautiful!
Which, you guessed it, would come with its own form of problems. worlds. A primitive species once found during a recon mission would be able to evolve in relative secrecy for 1,000 years, becoming a highly advanced coalition of aliens known as the Tau Empire. And if the threats of the galaxy weren't bad enough, there are threats from outside the galaxy. As a monster has begun to wrap its tendrils around the Milky Way, the Tyranids, monsters that serve a psychic hive mind and bring tactics previously unseen in the Milky Way. Be it a direct assault with their monstrous bug-like presence or through the more covert gene stealer cults, the presence of yet another threat in the galaxy is proving to be overwhelming to the Imperium.
This is the Hunter x Hunter Ants arc, except they're in space and coming at all angles. Sunny likes the Tyranids. I have some now. We just did some building, and maybe we'll do some Tyranids next time. I gotta read so much more. I want to read.
In the 41st millennium, there is no peace among the stars. At any point, your life can and will be threatened by the Xenos races uncountable, or by the arch enemy of chaos within, or by the decroded terror that is the Imperium itself. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget the power of technology and science, or the safety of promise and understanding. For in the darkness of the far future, there is only war.
War! Again, part 1. Title card! In the grim darkness!
A fantastic job once again, Mr. Kurz, the Night Haunter himself. Oh,
good job.
Didn't you love that, my faithful audience? Once again, we have another criminal over the course of 6 hours break every single bone in his body. And with that, once again, our glorious leader has brought the crime rate to 0%. Always brought to you here on Nostraman News. Thank you once again for joining us.
Curse, why'd you break every bone?
The weather forecast appears to be rainy with extra dark, so make sure you pack those extra batteries for your lamp packs. And of course, let's not forget the fantastic gang violence problem we're currently having. Oh boy. I'm sorry, what's that? Oh right, it's gone. It's looking to be a chilly one tonight as well. Sure, your skin capes are nice and tight.
Yay!
Wait, hold on, one moment.
This just in. Oh my God, breaking news.
Adamantium reserves have tripled? I'm sorry, self-harm rates have gone down to 0%.
No, we care a lot.
The Night Haunter smiled?
Hello?
No
way. What's happening?
This can only mean one thing. It is the Nostraman News' great privilege to bring some color back in your life with the brand new 3-part Gamer Subs exclusively on this here news network.
Oh my God,
Bricky myself is dropping a 3-part Gamer Subs release for pre-order now.
Wait, look at this. Wait, look at this huge woman. Oh my God!
Only for a couple of weeks.
Oh my God, wait.
Does it include a completely brand new
six-pack
artwork reskin of the sweet 6-pack
flavor?
Oh my
God, this is beautiful.
Flavors in the entirety of Gamer Subs, but it also comes with the first ever all-over print Gamer Subs 32-ounce jug. And if that isn't enough for you, if the phenomenal drink and drink holder is not enough for you, we have a desk mat to go along with it. That's right, the Herculean look of the brand new sweet 6-pack style is here. We're still looking at muscles beyond belief, but this time
look at this art.
We're talking
oil,
Atlas.
oil paint.
We're talking smooth.
Mother.
And if that wasn't enough, your co-host, specifically, should you pre-order all 3 of these items, will personally hand sign a note for you, thanking you for supporting this network.
Really?
All of this you can receive for 10% off if you go down in the description of this video and click the link, or go to gamersubs.com/Bricky and use code Bricky. Save 10% off with code Bricky. Bring some color back into your life and increase production across the board.
Which one?
For our glorious leader, the Night.
They don't have a pack of it? Oh my God, this is nuts. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. I really do enjoy this. This is really nice. Who did this? Follow you. You're nuts. Damn, guys.
Hunter.
Nice.
Thank you, Gamersubs, for sponsoring the Strama news, and let us move on to our next scheduled.
I don't usually like shill other people's stuff. I was just not like admiring it.
Program.
It was good.
5 years ago, I made every Warhammer 40k faction explained. A passion project of mine for a universe that I enjoyed so much. Its main purpose was to be a drawbridge, the separation between the layman who had only ever seen the big armored blue man situated neatly next to a Wetzel's Pretzels, and then the hardcore Warhammer lore nerd. That was just too wide, and there was nothing bridging these two together. Since 2020, Warhammer has exploded in popularity thanks to COVID, quality game updates, and a few excellent video games, and a couple miniseries. The sheer volume of people...
Miniseries? There's Warhammer shows? Guys, no way.
Told me they have purchased miniatures due to that video alone makes me feel as if Games Workshop owes me commission. However, that video is incomplete. I was not a casual fan, but I was also not a hardcore lore junkie.
Big
In the
advertiser.
5 years since that video's release, multiple channels have sprouted up, and the drawbridge between...
It's on their streaming service? I've never seen it. There is secret level. It's on Amazon? I'll have to look it up.
Casual to the obsessed has never been wider or easier to traverse. Even I, myself, have been a part of Adeptus Ridiculous, a podcast teaching lore in a much simpler and condensed form.
I've seen a few episodes.
I've learned a lot. Warhammer is so much more than just Spaceman shoots big gun. It has also grown substantially from its origins, being a Warhammer fantasy spin-off just in space. Now it is a black library filled with immensely deep characters, difficult themes, and even some tear-jerking stories. It is a backdrop for a million stories over a million worlds, and I did not see its true depth in 2020. But now, I'd like to share what I've learned. We just had a brief summary of the world and each faction that takes place during it. And we did that because to truly understand each faction, we must understand what makes them the way they are. And to do so, we need to begin in chronological order, discussing their origins, their culture, their powers, and of course, what makes them oh so grimdark. So let's
the chronological part of that will help me
with the group that started it all and sing praise to the infinite empire. As mentioned before, the Necron tier were the original form of the Necrons.
It's Cleveland.
An alien race far away from us that lived short, painful lives due to the end of their star. Normally, this would manifest as like a sort of cancer, a space cancer of sorts. The Necrons are very much inspired by the ancient Egyptian aesthetic, but unlike the windswept dunes commonly associated with it, the irradiated hellscape the Necron tier endured was far from picturesque. This also translates into their hierarchy. They are a race of nobles and peasants. Most of the peasants would often live for their very short amounts of time, only a couple of decades, while the nobles tended to have better care and would live a little bit longer, but still far less than the lifespan of a human, even today in the 21st century.
So they only live like 2 decades, like the peasantry, the paupers. Oh my God. And even like the best medical care that money could buy could only get you another like 30, 40, like 30. Okay. So it only gets you another like decade or something really to be rich.
The leader of the Necrons was the Silent King. He was the one who took the deal with the Catan and the Deceiver. Of course, he wasn't aware of the fact that they were known as the Deceiver at the time. But the whole species blinded by hate after being debased by the Old Ones on their quest to cure their illness. The sheer pain that underwent the Necron race can't be understated, as their fear was manic. The Catan are, of course, gods that eat stars, and when the leader of your species tells you to march into the gigantic green furnaces to ascend to immortality, you march. The scenes from these are long lines of both the peasantry and nobles clutching their loved ones in a frantic act to save their own lives. Many of them already inflicted in the late stages of this space cancer, some of them crawling into the biotransference furnaces, trying to outrace death itself.
Oh my God, guys, I would roll. I don't care what it takes. I'm getting into that stupid fucking furnace. Like, let's be real. You're about to die or you lose your soul and you're immortal, but you don't even know about the losing the soul part. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm going to live forever. Suddenly. But then, like, you lose your soul. But damn. Let's broke out the caffeine-free Bricky flavor for this stream. Let's go, guys. Support Bricky's Gamer Subs. Sponsored by, this is sponsored by Bricky's Gamer Subs. It's not, but check it out.
Realizing death was the one who made these to begin with. What came out the other side was a soulless husk. And I say that literally.
What's a soulless?
A soul is not an abstract concept like it is in our world. An immaterial version of oneself discussed and debated in religion and philosophy. No, in Warhammer, a soul is a real, tangible item of oneself. And the C'tan basically were just like to every single person who went in their furnaces. A peasant, you came out a Necron warrior, and you as an individual have ceased to be. You have no mind, you have no soul, and your body, as you know it, is made of an extremely advanced mass of re-knitting living metal known as necrodermis. You not think for yourself, for you do not have a brain to think with. All you do is await protocols from your overlords, which are the nobles who came out of the furnaces with their minds intact.
So basically, you get deleted from reality. Like, eating the soul, like, there's probably nothing left to even go back to the warp. Like, you're completely deleted. Oops. That guy went into the a folder titled Necron Souls and hit Control A and then delete. Oh my god. These guys, the C'tan suck. Necron are like the Borg from Star Trek. Oh my god. Unless you're a noble, in which case you get to keep a little bit of soul. This is, like, too real. Me, a pauper, I would have lost my fucking soul here.
Their souls, mind you, but their minds are very much intact. These nobles now have command protocols, and they are able to command all of their peasantry and do with them whatever they wish. The Silent King is the most advanced of all the Necrons, a perfect metallic version of himself with incredible power and intelligence. His allowed him to lead the undead and the unthinking armies of the Necrons to battle against the C'tan when they were at their weakest due to their incessant infighting, and then win back their freedom. But gods cannot die. So in reality, what occurred is the C'tan were shattered into thousands of pieces, and each shard of their god was in a stasis vault and mind controlled to do the bidding of the Necrons they once enslaved.
Oh, that's so sick.
This challenge
so sick.
Are actually the upstarts of the galaxy. The Eldar and the Orcs were quite prominent, and as you can imagine, a galactic war really takes its toll on the joints, or I guess the servos.
Oh boy.
It was in their best interest to wait out the galactic rise of the other races and come back at a more opportune time. So,
can they reproduce?
They went into stasis via these massive tomb complexes hidden beneath various worlds, biding their time until it was once again their opportunity to rule the galaxy. Zarek, the Silent King, as penance for his failure to his people, exiled into the darks between stars for the next 60 million years, with his perfect memory, a constant reminder of the doom he inflicted upon his people.
Damn, this poor guy. They can build more robots, but no robo-dog. Yeah, okay. But I just assumed, like, so every Necron lost is, like, kind of like an irreplaceable thing. Like, you know, humanity's probably just like, we gotta get more of those. But, like, not... These guys, like, losing a Necron must be crazy, crazy costly. They can rebuild themselves. Oh, okay.
Flash forward to the modern day, and the Necrons are reawakening, but it isn't working as well as it could be. Whether the tomb world is reawakened naturally or by some Imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, the Necrons have come back to reclaim a galaxy they consider rightly theirs. But 60 million years of hypersleep have taken their toll. Many Necron dynasties awake with systems unrestored and huge swaths of their population's minds completely lost. Necron nobles wake with various mental faculties compromised, sometimes exhibiting traits similar to excessive paranoia, schizophrenia, or even dementia.
They're just broken. They're actually like 60 million years.
He is still back on his home planet fighting off separatists and interlopers. See,
Oberyn, the Separatists come, attempting to outflank me as they did at the 4th Battle of Vindach. How they calculate that having themselves green and roaring like savages will produce a different outcome, I cannot fathom. But it is of no account.
God.
Ready, my legions. Another glorious victory shall soon be ours.
Oh my
Other
God, he's crazy.
Such as the esteemed
So
the
horrible.
Stormlord seek to
He's just
usurp
stuck.
the newly returned Silent King for rightful ruler over the Necron race, believing his time has come to an end. While
he's kind of fucked
and
up a lot.
archaeologists like Trazen the Infinite and Orkin the Diviner spend thousands of years bickering over artifacts and petty squabbles. Truly,
thousands of years?
the are a faction of unthinkable, unimaginable power, held back entirely by their own hubris and 60 million stasis. It is a
So, and they're kind of starting to fail. 60 million. Okay, Trazen. That's he just mentioned. But what a name, because I've already forgotten
species
it.
that does not
Hard to say.
know of time, only of the ravages brought by it. A Pharaon of a
my
may
God.
just be as frightened to awake completely mad as they are to be assassinated while they sleep. Thousands of years pass in an instant. There is a play,
Damn.
like a play,
Oh my God.
a retelling
Harry
of the
Potter.
war in heaven in the Necron culture that takes
They have a
40
play?
years to witness. Because why leave? You have no need to eat or vacate your bowels. You are immortal, but you are soulless. Despite the Necrons' incredible technology, their mastery over time, reality itself, despite all of this, they still are missing a soul. And therein lies the biggest struggle. Most Necrons look to conquest the galaxy, kill the interlopers like the humans, Eldar, and orcs that scrape at a fraction of their power. But the end goal for many, including Zarek himself, is to return the souls to their bodies, to
How? They've been eaten.
undo the horrible fate he cast upon them. This is not the interest of all. Many simply wish to rule their dynasty with an iron fist and kill all they consider unworthy. But to many others, it is to undo the decision that doomed them all. Before they can do that, there is a pest that needs exterminating. That is the
some
fundamental
dinner?
understanding of the Necrons. They are so advanced that their science borders on magic. They play with the fundamental aspects of reality and time. Their mastery of the physical galaxy is the strongest in the universe. Their weapons reduce people to the barest molecules, and they have devices capable of causing stars to supernova. They are unfathomably difficult to kill, as if you do fell one of their number, the living metal reknits itself, and the reanimation protocols allow it to come back alive once again.
Oh, okay. So the death of a Necron is kind of just like performative and they will come back.
They're masters of teleportation, and often killing a Necron fully will just have its consciousness translocated back to their tomb world to await reassembly. Normally they use phalanxes of warriors and honorary combats, but some of them have fallen to various mind viruses.
I see the mind viruses. I highly recommend the Infinite and Divine book. It's about Tzeentch and Oricon is such a great book. I have got to finish at least a few more books in the Horus Heresy. And honestly, I'm probably going to pick up some audiobooks and I might do that tomorrow because God, work's going to fucking, bleh. So, well, I don't want to read all of the books on Horus Heresy, but some of them. I definitely want to get that baseline.
Their cults are hell-bent on killing anything and everyone that lives with an overwhelming force. And then there's the flayed ones. Necrons cursed with I have no mouth and I must scream, a panic attack virus, as the last laugh of Landogo, the Flayer Catan. Slowly losing their mind, they strip apart their foes and adorn their bodies with the skin of their enemies, trying to better return to their old feelings of flesh and blood. The Necrons are a degraded version of their mighty empire and still one of the biggest threats in the galaxy. The only thing keeping them at bay currently is their awakening sickness and their infighting with no care to the timeline. But they are coming.
Oh my God.
And slowly, they plan to rid this galaxy of the vermin that inhabit it. My people shackled the stars and broke mortality when the species you sprang from had barely left the slime pools it spawned in. Our wars burned reality, and the dominion of our kings is without limit. The ground you tread on is not yours, it is ours.
Go watch a play for 40 years. Okay, Grandpa, let me get you into the play seat. Come on. They're coming. They don't have balls.
War in Heaven was a catastrophic time for the galaxy, and as stated in the above quote, burned reality. Of course, exist in Warhammer, and in the case of the Necrons here, they were consumed by the star gods. This begs the question, however, if you were to pass on, expire, as one might put it, where would your soul go? The answer to this is the warp. In Warhammer, a soul is real. And so is hell, the afterlife, the Imperium, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium. All of these names refer to the dimension parallel to our own known as the warp. Now, the warp is not like ours. It does not follow the classic normalcy of time and space. It is defined as the Sea of Souls, and it acts like this in a more literal way than you can realize. To imagine the warp is to imagine the sea itself. Hell is real, and you can surf on it. It has a and can become more dangerous depending on where you go and how bad the weather is. As the Immaterium is a reflection of our reality and of our souls, all thoughts, all emotions, all feeling that goes with a soul is passed on into the warp. If an entire planet decides it's going to engage in a blood-fueled rampage of murder and gore, then the warp around that planet will be affected in a similar manner. It's not something that you can see. It is a parallel, not perpendicular dimension. But it is changing. To expose oneself to the warp for any period of time invites certain death outside of the most iron-willed of individuals, and to stare into it will drive one mad.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have the will of a sponge. I don't have any. I don't have any willpower. I simply would pass on.
Much like the open seas, things dwell in the warp. Whether these beings were always there and were just emboldened by the carnage of the galaxy, we can only speculate at. At a time, you could say it was more calm, but a certain faction's galactic war in heaven didn't do it any favors. Now the warp is turbulent, and its realms belong to a pantheon of gods known simply as
Chaos Gods. Guys, what's your favorite Chaos God?
The forces of chaos are beings that serve directly under their patron deity. There are 4 current gods of chaos at the moment.
I think Tzeentch might be my favorite.
Nurgle, and Slaanesh. Each of
Slaanesh is cool. Nurgle is just disgusting. Khorne is also really cool. Tzeentch might be kind of the coolest one. Is the only reasonable Chaos God. I feel like Tzeentch has more of a brain on him. Probably Khorne. If I were to actually be in the Warhammer universe, I think I'd be more interested in Khorne because obviously it's fighting all the time. But Tzeentch actually would be like the most interesting to me. Nurgle is like, what the fuck? No one actually likes Nurgle. Do you like Nurgle? Okay, somebody likes Nurgle. Slaanesh is fine. I mean, I live in a society.
them represent various facets of and emotions of sentient species and play a great game against one another for total control over their realms. Interestingly enough, while their disciples have physical forms we can understand, the Chaos Gods do not have a physical visual that you can perceive in reality. So while there are tons of fantastic fan art, we do not know what they truly look like, though they are conveniently color-coded. Khorne is the god of blood and murder, carnage and slaughter. He is the one who is most powered by the wholesale killing
but they don't have like a form.
Thing. For Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. With a sacred number of 8, he is the lord of all things involving killing and blood and gore. The champions are extremely strong as well, with mental muscles and extremely large weapons. A true analog to Khorne would be his greater demon, the Bloodthirster, an enormous muscle-bound flying devil with an axe so large it splits tanks in a single swing. They move into battle with armor of brass adorned by the skulls of their foes. Look at this little guy fighting this.
You are dead, girl.
Blood. This may appear to be quite frightening, of course. Demonic, one might say. But in the world of chaos, all emotions feed one of these gods in one way or another. If you were to define Khorne with single words, you would use blood, carnage, murder, skulls. But you'd be missing out on important ones like strength, honor, prowess, courage, and skill.
Would you say that the Space Marines like inadvertently feed Khorne?
Khorne is not just about the wholesale slaughter of people. He is about the honor and power of martial combat. The true strength
But wouldn't the Space Marines be doing like a little bit, quite a bit of it? Definitely. Oh, any human. Everyone does, but I'm talking like obviously the point of a Space Marine. They were born into this. Like they have been created to kill. So I guess like you can't help it. 99% of 40k feeds corn. All right. It's just, it is what it is. Orcs even more.
There is investing someone
Not deliberately.
in physical strength and skill. Of course, a murderer would be someone who would feed corn, but a soldier could feed corn. A martial artist or professional
He just
fighter
answered it.
could. A warrior, good or bad, feeds corn. A
Gotcha.
a premier soldier does.
Okay.
A GoFundMe does not. This is what
A
leads many
GoFundMe
mortals
campaign
down the
doesn't.
path of corn. For he will bless those that
Corn.
bestows, and in a world this destructive, are
It feeds-
meant to reap a high tally.
Change
Prepare
people's
the claws and
counts.
unchain the mad ones. Glorious battle awaits us today, for the
Oh.
world below has refused to surrender. Let us
Oh.
descend upon them with fury and rage, giving no quarter and sparing only those warriors who fight well enough to earn a place amongst us. As to the rest, their lives and possessions are ours, but their skulls are for corn. Normally,
God
if I ever want
damn.
to explain corn,
Skulls.
I just kind of show them this clip.
I'd never stab you in the back, Shepard. Warriors like you and me, straight to the face.
Moving on, Tzeentch is the second god, the god of trickery and mischief, the changer of ways, the great
Mischief.
conspirator and the
Blood for the blood guide. Skull for the skull throne. And now we have Tzeentch, who has, who is, do they have any chance for this guy?
of fate. With a
This-
sig
this
number of
Zissy.
9,
Don't
Tzeentch
look.
is truly the god of change in all of its forms. But there is an obvious undercurrent of mischief.
Oh, I like the
and
hand
cunning.
eye.
Tzeentch is such a liar that his pants have gone thermonuclear.
Oh my god, oh my god,
His
this guy is,
favorite
why is he
pastime
doing that?
asking questions that have no answers while simultaneously making up answers on the spot to a question he didn't ask.
Have you ever had a dream that you had you could you do you want you could do so you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
He is such a
That kid really, like, smiled at the end of that one. I was like, yeah, oh, there we go. I fucking got it. But, like, so basically every time you guys lie on the internet, or I lie on the internet, frequent, that's feeding Tzeentch?
conniving little bastard that every
Yes.
emotion of lying, of scheming, of trickery
Damn.
is a direct way to help feed him. An unfaithful politician, a spy.
A
All these people
politician! A politician in general! Not like a spot, not a politician when they lie, just a politician who's
each in one
lying.
another, and it doesn't matter if the intentions are good. Acceptance
A
does
politician.
not feed Tzeentch, change does. Tzeentch doesn't care about your facts. He only wants opinions. Because he represents change, he also represents hope, though. Schemes are not always bad, and even the hope to make a better tomorrow is the change he seeks. Because he is the architect of fate and the mastery of sorcery, his presence is purely unknowable. Every depiction of a Tzeentchian demon contains more eyes than are necessary and more mouths than I know what to do with. It is a biblically accurate angel
I know
if
what to
the
do with
angel
them.
gaslit you into thinking birds are government drones.
They are.
But are they? The creatures that warn them with the
Same
knowledge
page.
of sorceries and the unknown, all to provide a mind-crushing experience. Fighting
bird
demons from
heads.
outside of our reality is difficult enough, but fighting demons from unreality, purposely attempting to trick you, is a whole new thing entirely. And that is before we even get started on the gigantic bird of sorcery you're going to need to
This
face.
guy.
Do not ask which
Yes.
creature screams in the night. Do not
Is this the
question
guy?
who waits for you in the shadow. It is my cry that wakes you in the night, and
I
my
fought that
body
thing.
that crouches in the shadow. I am Tzeentch, and you are the puppet that dances to my tune.
So we just finished Warhammer Space Marines 2, and I just fought that giant freaking bird.
Third of the Chaos Gods is the
I
one
whooped
of
it.
acceptance of rot and pestilence, the grandfather himself, Papa Nurgle. Nurgle is the
Nurgle.
opposite of Tzeentch. Where Tzeentch believes in change and hope for a future, Nurgle believes in stagnation and the end of everything. At one point or
Oh,
another,
pleasant.
we will all decay. We will all
Papa.
rot and we will all end. And with a sacred number of 7, every single thing, pestilence, boil, and everything in between, comes under the great shadow and girth of Nurgle himself. For Nurgle, the plight of mortals is his fear and wine. No matter how solid life might be, everything will decay in the end. In the creation of life, there must be an end to that life. And nobody has more creations to end lives than Grandfather Nurgle himself. Every boil, every blemish, every pus-filled wound and disease, every rot and every plague is kept and concocted by Nurgle. This, humorously, keeps Nurgle as a jovial god. He is full of life and laughter, and by creating as many diseases as he possibly can, he shares that joy with mortals. I mean,
very
his
nice.
envoy
Thank you.
Is the great unclean one, and look at how happy he is.
He's a
and
happy
there's
guy.
a lot of him to love. A fear of death
He's a big boy.
in general is feeding Nurgle. All disease makes him stronger, but to pray for salvation for a wounded loved one is to feed Nurgle. The timeless and inevitable fear that one day you will rot and decay is what gives him strength.
Wow.
The Peloton won't feed Nurgle.
He just wants me to rot.
A public bathroom certainly does. However,
Oh my
should
God.
you embrace your grandfather's gifts, you may find an end to your pain. Maybe. All mortal chaos
potentially.
gods found themselves there in one way or another.
This art is amazing.
Either the direct worship or the slow corrupting of their souls. But
okay, so it's like, you don't even have to worship these guys to be influenced by them. You can kind of just like slowly just start to kind of agree with what they think.
those that take Nurgle's gifts and embrace the decay of their bodies may end up being chosen among his few as a faithful servant. In doing so, you will be free of the pain caused by Nurgle's ailments, and you may even find yourself just as jovial and happy as he is.
Wait, all I have to do is rot? And I'll have like super happy time.
Maybe.
Dude.
His enemies shall wither and die. His lies shall wither and die. The universe and all within it shall wither and die. And when the great corruption has settled over the land and permeated the very foundations of reality itself, then shall the Lord of all rise from the rot and ruin, spread his arms wide to reclaim all of his dutiful children. Those were the three chaos gods for a very long time, emboldened by war and death on a galactic scale, ever present, but now fact on the suffering of a galaxy. One race was able to elude the pull of chaos, an advanced race of psychically attuned aliens whose master over the physical world was so strong that chaos could not glean from them the morsels of power they once had, or so they couldn't. Not for a long while. 60 million years ago, in an attempt to combat the Necrons in Catan, the old ones made a new species. One with innate power in the warp and the ability to harness it with a mastery that was unseen by so many others. A mastery so powerful, the Necrons retreated to sleep in order to wait it out. It was no longer a galaxy to be ruled by them, but instead the age of the
Eldar. The Eldar.
The Eldar are a race of pointed-eared humanoids that are all psychically into
Tolkien,
the warp.
look away.
Here, these are space elves, and these
oh
elves
my god, that bitch is horrifying.
The Necrons went to sleep and humanity began to rise. The
what
Eldar's
is that?
empire was galaxy-wide and lasted for longer than any other galactic power that we know of. Their understanding of all things was exceptional. With every single one of them being psychers, they had the ability to master the warp and use it to their advantage.
So good.
See, being a psyker is basically like being a wizard, or I guess in this case it's more of a sorcerer, since you are born with the gifts as opposed to learning them. In order to utilize your psychic abilities, however, you must then reach into the other dimension, into the warp, into hell for that power.
Pull it out.
So if you were to say, cast fireball,
no,
your mind would reach to the warp, have the strength to rewrite reality to then cast fireball. Now you might
make sure you cast it in a very, very closed space.
Think to yourself, doesn't that mean if you are opening up a power to the warp, you may create a lot of risk to yourself because of all the horrible things we just talked about in the warp?
Yes. However,
Oh.
in Warhammer 40k, willpower
I didn't think about it like that.
tangible in the sense that in its own right, it can be weaponized. Being strong of will means being strong of soul. And being strong of soul means you can resist the pull of the warp that much more. A more inexperienced psyker opens up a hole into the warp that is large.
Whoa, what's this?
And that hole widens to get more power, allowing
This is
evil
frickin'
things
Skyrim.
to get in. A powerful psyker is able to open a very
That's so funny. I couldn't put it together. I've played that game.
very small hole, but with immense force.
This
To
is
get the
Dark
same
Tide?
amount of power.
This is not Skyrim. You're telling me this is not modded Skyrim? That's so funny. I just assumed that this was modded Skyrim.
Hole into the warp that is
It looks so much
large,
like
and that
it.
hole widens
Dark Tide. I'll have to try
to
this
get
one out.
more power, allowing
This looks
evil
good.
things to get in. A powerful psyker is able to open a very small hole, but with immense force to get the same amount of power with less risk. The Eldar are master psychers. Every single one of them can call upon the warp, and over millions of years they have perfected it so much so
Left 4 Dead
that they can
40K?
weave structures out of it. In some species in the galaxy,
Who has
they
only
utilize
played
the warp
Skyrim?
in-
When was the last time I even played Skyrim? I don't think I've ever even streamed Skyrim. I've got like at least 100 other games streamed. Come on, give me credit.
itself for interstellar travel. The Eldar ain't having any
Yesterday.
of that noise. How about we utilize a fancy alternative mode of travel that is substantially safer than the old ones created called the Webway?
The
What about
Webway.
miss me with that? We no longer
Oh,
age.
shit.
And if we do, we can just be reborn like that. Food, water, materials, we make things out of distilled warp essence itself. We sing
Bro, I didn't know they do
unreality
that.
into cathedrals.
You're
to
playing Skyrim
dine
right
in.
now.
What
Dice.
truly could the Aeldari Empire possibly fear?
Themselves.
The Aeldari Empire's biggest fear was themselves, with a society so perfect they wanted for naught. And this led
Themselves.
them down dark and dangerous paths. When the
Oh, boy.
base functions of society are no longer a problem for you, you tend to
You make shit up.
experiment. Perhaps
Oh,
the
boy.
medium rare steak on your
Experiment.
plate would be better if it was elf meat. Hey, I'm not saying we should make cannibalism legal, but like, what's the issue with a little taste? Violence
A little bit of elf meat.
is one thing, but how come we don't do sports to the death? I mean, I'm just
point.
saying, like, if both
They gotta be
participants
weird
are
out there.
willing and clear about it, like, what really is the problem there, you know? Art is in the eye of the viewer, and what is considered art is completely up to the concept of one's own interest. A canvas
True.
adorned with the blood of a man wronged is truly the visual poetry that our society needs. Hedonism. With a slow and consistent hedonism, the Eldar slid backwards into debauchery of the sort I cannot discuss on this YouTube video. Murder
Damn.
on stage, delicacies and drugs distilled from one another, the trade of slaves and concubines, and much, much worse. The Eldar physiology has their
Oh.
emotions heightened, and they can feel more than a human does. So while it
Okay.
can provide lows of pure despair, it can also provide greater
Philosophy.
highs than you have ever known. And swinging between the two of them was the Eldar game. The warp
Damn.
took notice of this heavily, and it began
All
to
these
react.
thoughts.
On a galactic scale, the debauchery and the hedonism of the Eldar race caused levels of warp storm so pronounced and so volatile that it cut off interstellar travel for all those who used it. Communications between planets was removed, and a nightmarish era of Old Night began. This continued for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. The Eldar all but removed from the problems being caused as they entered heights of more and more ecstasy. They needed more and more and more. Nothing was ever enough. More murder, more torture. It's delicacies, it's life. This silence of the Slaanesh. Wait,
The sudden silence, and I'm like, no, not the silence. Oh my god. Dude, okay. Okay. The other chaos god conveniently didn't shed. Not mother. Mother is mad. Okay, no silence. Keep talking, guys. Slaanesh, she's real.
the Prince
They.
of Pleasure, she who thirsts, the god of unspeakable excess.
Is
our
that a
fourth
pointy
chaos
boob?
god with the sacred number of
What
6
am I looking
adorning
at?
their title. Slaanesh is a bit
Oh,
of a tricky
God.
one,
Because with our other 3 Chaos Gods, there was
Are those boobs? And is that boob smoking?
a certain understanding of human emotions and desires.
What's happening?
That desire is how they get their power. The words to be used would be pleasure,
smoking.
perfection, passion, excess, and others.
Perfection,
The pursuit
yep.
of more.
It's interesting to view that perfection as excess, but
The
it is.
want to do more, experience more, become more. That's what gives Slaanesh their gifts.
What that boob hookah? Why is it hookah?
A lot of people believe that's something that originates with sex, specifically, and it makes sense why they assume that. The visuals of such patrons are all very lithe,
Very
and sexual,
sexy.
but they are also intentionally androgynous to appear attractive to a variety of intrigues. However, to think that Slaanesh
Wait, whoa, what did that say? What did that
to
say?
appear attractive to a variety of intrigue.
Gayest shit imaginable.
However, to think that specifically derives from sex would be mistaken. While it is true that a lot of humanity's actions
Consent.
can relate to Blade, Slaanesh is the dark prince of desire. It's more on the lines of feeling an excess of an emotion. It is excessive touch
It's
and
just so
scent
funny.
and desire. It looks like sex, but it's more than just that. A patron of the arts may feed one that aspires to become the perfect chef, master of their craft, and the sheer pursuit, that alone will feed Slaanesh. Whiplash is Slaanesh's absolute favorite film. Videos where people beat Elden Ring on a dance pad feed Slaanesh.
There are two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
Bad
Is there a
job.
line?
No, man, no.
This also moves into the concept of feeling. Sensation is a
I've never
majorly
watched Whiplash.
Slaanesh-coded thing. It might start off feeling good, but then you get to play around a little bit, you know? You play with a little bit of pain. Light pain might not be enough, so you might want more. Or inflicting the pain could be your jam. Music can increase to volumes that may hurt your ears, and even then that might
Ouch,
not
my
be enough. More. You must have more. Many of the disciples of Slaanesh carry a demonic form in their lithe grace. The keeper of secrets is his chosen envoy, and their movements are a blur of dance and pain with an aura all the more fatal. They dance and sing, but there's always a form of malice behind every action. An alluring gaze
Evil.
that will pull you in right before the demonic
Testicular
entity
torsion
can
type
crush
entity.
you in that grip. This palace has 6 layers
Evil.
surrounding it, and one of them is the excess of gluttony, where the participant finds themselves in a beautiful
Unfortunately, me.
banquet full of the most delicious foods imaginable.
I die.
Tables of delicacies and
What happens if you eat this?
rivers of wine tempt the user to such
Damn.
degree that they cannot stop stuffing their face, unaware that the things they are eating are very vaguely familiar meat. If one does not see themselves drowning in the river of wine, they may soon fill their bodies up so much that they cease to function and fall over, becoming part of the banquet themselves.
So many people. Guys, this is why you've been calling me a snack.
That is one
Wait, what is...
of these 6 layers
What is
of
that?
Slaanesh's palace. This was the ecstasy that the Eldar civilization indulged in for millennia, and did so at a
Severe case of
monumental that they create a god from it. Find
Oh my
pleasure
God.
in every moment. Indulge in every whim. Let lesser races feel the burden of their crude lives. We are beyond such concerns or worries. Every power is ours to use. Every sensation ours to experience. We are truly masters of the galaxy, and all others exist only to satisfy our curiosities. We have earned our position of power. Let us forever taste the fruits of such achievement. Time itself is ours to command. We are eternal.
These guys fucking suck. What is this? It's
With the
beautiful.
birth of Slaanesh, the Aeldari Empire ceased to be. A
ain't
catastrophic
wrong.
event so horrible that the ripped a hole permanently in our reality. A
Magnus?
fissure forever known as the Eye of Terror. With the sudden inhalation of
Oh,
this
different.
god's largest breath, the Aeldari souls are a currency to be now collected by she who thirsts. Trillions of Eldar died in an instant, gorging on their souls to satisfy his palate. 99.9% of their entire species died, and the rest moves to a fate worse than death. For Slaanesh now stakes a claim on each and every Eldar soul. From the moment they pass on, an eternity of torment awaits them. The remaining...
So you're telling me like they almost went extinct in an instant? Soul slurp. Slaanesh just had a big bowl of Aeldari soul soup. Okay, so they almost went extinct. Can I be honest though? Like, they kind of had a good life. Like, not gonna lie, you guys literally had so much excess that you died of excess. Like, oh no, they gooned to extinction. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, if you just goon your way to extinction, I don't know. It's not that bad. I don't know. It doesn't sound that bad.
Eldar devote their entire lives to stopping this eventuality. Their dying race so devoted to saving themselves from the Dark Prince. And, in doing so, have found very creative ways.
The craft world Eldar.
In the modern world of Warhammer, the
escape!
Craft world Eldar
Run
are the
away!
main of Eldar in the galaxy. And
You can literally just leave.
Style that many think of when you think elves in space. Fantasy elves in space. Not
can just
those
leave.
elves. We'll get to them. A craft
Wait,
world is a
we will?
monumentally large starship, the size of a continent, that acts as a form of flotilla. During the highest reaches of hedonism, many Eldar saw the demonic writing on the wall and began to try and seek asylum from their own debauchery. Those Eldar left on monumental craft worlds into the far reaches of the galaxy and saved themselves from Slaanesh's awakening. The main thing the craft world Eldar seek is to temper their minds and bodies in a way that will never allow them to slide back into their old ways. The representation they carry is that of a more feudal Japanese motif. Eldar follow paths as they age. The path of the warrior, the seer, the poet, the diplomat, the bone singer, and so on. These paths are a strict code of conduct to hone the heightened Eldar psychology down a school of thought and action. And if it sounds a hell of a lot like Bushido, well, you're damn right.
So basically they're following paths to kind of curb this natural inclination towards stimulation. They're basically putting a phone time limit on so that they don't play Subway Surfers for 6 hours in the morning and get up at 3 p.m. But they alter their minds with it. Okay, they're literally curbing their enthusiasm. All right, good to know.
There's a medal and a soul stone. Don't lose it or an eternity of torment awaits you. Going paths will allow you to take up not just a role in Eldar society, but keep your mind clear from the past worries that plagued them. Every Eldar is said to be a psyker. However, very few of them actually utilize their psychic powers for fear of tempting she who thirsts. A large amount of emphasis is also put on ancestors of the Eldar and learning from them the farther you go down a path.
Some Confucianism. I see. Yeah, 30 day. It's a permanent no nut November. It's a no nut never.
Sometimes be seen by the large variety of jewels adoring the armor of Eldar. Those are called soul stones, the biggest middle finger to Slaanesh they can think of. See, when an Eldar dies, these stones act as a backup, and instead of their souls going to Slaanesh, they are then trapped and stored in this little stone. So when the Eldar say they commune with their ancestors, they mean so very literally, as the spirit and soul of generations before them are stored here. Often larger structures may contain vast amounts of soul stones, such as the Infinity Circuit in the craft world itself, allowing the souls of the dead to help power their enormous starship. The young
oh my god, we are the crystal gem.
Desire the discipline of the path, but rather their
the cluster.
Try every fruit from the tree. Thus, it is that so many take the path of wandering or the path of damnation in their first years of adulthood. And so, the great tragedy of our kind is played out again and again as the number of our people shrink from generation to generation.
Damn.
These paths, when completed, allow an Eldar to move to the next one, then the next one. However, since this is the grim darkness of the world, many of these paths rely on combat. The Eldar actually had gods at one point. Cain, Vol, Isha, Azaryan, and so on. These
what is
gods
that?
Are aspects of
What was that?
The Eldar pantheon, and while many were killed in
Their jar.
their teachings live on. For some, the strongest devotion to the Eldar gods is to join the Aspect Warriors and embody the wrath of Cain, their god of war. While guardians of the Eldar craft worlds are akin to a trained militia,
I do know that there's something about a weapon that Slaanesh has, and like basically the Eldar are trying to. Ish is in the Cumdra. Unfortunate. I know that they're trying to get a weapon so that they can revive a god. I remember hearing a little bit about this, how there is a weapon, and apparently, and this is if my mind is correct, Fulgrim might have that weapon as he has come back from Celeshi's cum dungeon. So that's Yunari lore. It's way deeper. There's probably so much I'm missing here. I watched like only 15 minutes of the podcast.
The Aspect Warriors embody a particular variant.
They need help. They failed. Oops.
Each
Oh, never mind
by
then.
a Phoenix Lord, a name passed down from
wife.
generations and embodying the souls of prior Phoenix Lords with each new one. The Howling Banshees, led by Jane Czar, Fugan and his Fire Dragons, Baharoth and his Swooping Hawks, or Malgan Ra and his Dark Reapers. Each Aspect Shrine carries with it the Eldar way of war. Fast, hard-hitting, and incredibly tricksy, for they do not have the numbers to fight in any other way. The Craft World Eldar show how mangled
each one's got a hit
by their own actions. They once ruled the galaxy in an honest, non-hyperbolic way, but in the end, they were bested by themselves. And their most prominent remnants are forced to drift aimlessly through the galaxy, trying to save their species from extinction and resist the temptations of she who thirsts. But
this is way better than it's still good for introductory like me, but there's just more information that's interesting in this re-explained. Like, I'm just finding so much more, because I understood the Aeldari, but I did not understand like the Aeldari culture at all. So this is like introducing like more than just the knowledge of their existence. This is like more about them.
For some, the party, it's just beginning.
Oh boy! It was only yours.
Deep within the webway is the city of Kamara. This dark city once existed as a port in the webway that allowed for ease of transport for the Eldar between its various domains.
That kind of popped.
The significance of this city meant that it needed to be a bit more of a neutral territory outside of the jurisdiction of general Eldar law, and therefore it was allowed to self-govern. This did not go well. The city became the hideaway for all manner of sin. The Eldar race slipped into debauchery on a galactic scale that it birthed a god, and this was the city you went to when that wasn't enough for you.
Oh my God, this is what happens if the libertarians win.
The convenience of being so deep within the webway was that it exists as a blind spot to the horrors of the warp. So while the rest of the Eldar fled the downfall of their species, Kamara kept partying. When Slaanesh was
go! Let's fucking go! Las Vegas!
They were saved the worst of it, thanks to them being nice and neatly tucked away inside the webway.
Oh no.
But only somewhat. The Dark Prince did not have a grip around their soul, but the tiniest pinky finger, and they were still pulling. But due to their excess hedonism, they found a solution to this problem. If they tormented others, they could temporarily rejuvenate their souls and continue to cheat their inevitable death by placating the Prince of Pleasure. And if they kept this up on the regular, they could effectively become immortal. Thus, the Drukhari were born.
So basically, they can goon, and then Slaanesh is like, okay, I'm fine with you. And then there is like, Slaanesh is like, wait a second, you're still here, and then goon, and they're like, you know what? I'm fine with you. Like this, on repeat. Like basically,
the more stoic elves you see.
Less gooning, physically come back too. More torturing others. Infinite goon, and but it's not enough. This is right. These guys turn people into lamps, I think, and like furniture.
In works of fiction, the Drukhari themselves exist
as
a sort of analog of the more grim
they do a lot of
fiendish elves you find in Norse and European mythology. The Drukhari are soul vampires, but the more basic means to feed are hardly enough to keep them going. This desire to feed is known as the thirst, and to quench it effectively, they have mastered the art of biotechnology and dark sciences to really juice themselves up on the crispy soul sprite from the vending machine called the Galaxy. The majority of Drukhari act as
Vending
pirates
machine.
and raiders and slavers. They go into our physical reality and drag people back to Kamara to commit atrocities that go beyond any imaginative torture a human can think of. The Drukhari are organized in various groups throughout the Dark City to accomplish this.
I'm not
in a
supposed to
more
think of it, okay?
organized and extremely brutal way. The Cabals act as the main warriors of the city,
don't wanna think
led
about it.
by their archons. Witches and succubi act as entertainment for Kamara in gladiatorial arenas.
Not gonna lie, guys, the Dark Eldar are like I have like no fascination with these people. I'm like, their existence, they're like tucked away in this tiny little thing, and I don't really care for their existence. I'm like, I hear of them, I know that they're there, but I don't know. I'm like, they're so much less interesting than the Hexcraft. Their tech is cool. I mean, but like, okay, the design aspects don't even interest
and the
me.
flesh-crafting homunculus keep the Drukhari alive and discover ever-increasingly more painful ways to torment their ever-increasingly large supply of slaves they are brought. The Dark Eldar see the other inhabitants
Do they get slaves just to torture them?
of the galaxy as little
My guy
more
needs a
than
hobby.
cattle, livestock that can be brought to bay or slaughtered at any time.
Oh
Their
my God.
fodder, however, is
Yes.
not meat.
No way. The slaves they get just to be like, you know what? I've got my torture slaves and turn them into living furniture. No. Guys, if you ever torture me and turn me into furniture, I want to be a TV stand. I want to be a TV stand, and you have to play Subway Surfers on the TV on top of me.
And muscle, but the anguish and despair of the weak. The Dark Eldar do indeed drink blood, but also tears, and most sustaining of all, the essence of pain they wring out of their captives. The truth of the matter is they themselves on the suffering of others, not just morally, but physically. Kamara is a city with backstabbing schemes and murder. It is the worst back alleys of the worst ghettos at the best of times. Nothing is more horrifying to a Drukhari than death, for death will see them in the talons of Slaanesh for an eternity of torment. So they do everything they can to stop this. The homunculi covens regrow dead members from pieces of flesh as bargaining chips.
You're gonna be a lamp, and you're gonna like it. No! Not that they turn you into furniture, they turn you into living furniture. Yeah, exactly. Oh, maybe I should be the couch because then I can see the Subway Surfers.
The succubi create grisly gladiatorial spectacles that literally rejuvenate the audience members as captives are murdered for sport. To be captured by the Drukhari is one of, if not the worst fate imaginable in the world of Warhammer 40k.
Because it's just about torturing people.
War crimes, they are the most debased war crimers of all time. To be tortured and sacrificed in the gladiatorial arenas is a blessing, for you have escaped of being in the flesh smith's control group, or being turned into a living and breathing piece of furniture for an Archon's quarters. In a cruel twist of fate,
for the Archons,
newly born Drukhari does not arrive into this world loving torture. It is something they must grow to love. Grow to appreciate the suffering of other beings in order to survive in the world they have been brought into. If they succeed, they become some of the worst monsters in the known galaxy. Dark equivalent to the craft worlders, and a taste of what Eldar society was like before the fall. If they do not succeed, they must find purchase elsewhere. Often those will join smaller parts of Eldar society like the Exodites or the Harlequins. Exodites believe in a pre-industrial variant of their society, often retreating to more lush
So wait a second, if they do not succeed in becoming monsters, they have to leave?
Worlds to ride dinosaurs and live off the land. Prehistoric style that I would normally laugh at if they weren't riding dinosaurs like ballers. The Harlequin dancing troupe are a subsect of Eldar that are more than just a little strange. A carnival of dancing jesters that serve the Eldar laughing god of Turak.
Clussy, guys. This is basically, and I'm always right, somebody over there at Workshop Games wanted Clussy. And they were like, wait a second, I actually can do this. And they made it.
They arrive never when expected and leave just as quickly. Blurs of light carry their footsteps as they dance their foes into a grave. Combat is just as much of a joke as it is a play on bloody murder.
Oh my God, they're OP?
Are in humanity for reasons we can never understand. Perhaps
Oh boy.
one day we would have, were they not stripped of their army book and folded into the Aeldari Codex. So I suppose it'll have to stay a mystery, or
Wait, what happened? They were stripped of their book?
maybe it was one of Kakarot's master
Oh,
plans
Sevens.
to get she who thirsts and save their
Oh,
species.
Sevens in the chat.
Who could know? Perhaps it was all a sick
They got
and
nuked from the
practical
lineup.
joke to
They got a book and then they ungot a book. Wait, so they've kind of been like, what? Like a little bit decanonized? Got rid of them for the sin of being broken. They're not a faction anymore. Oh my God. So they're just part of they exist, no longer playable. Dude, they're still around, just not fully playable armies. You kind of have to, like have them on... Okay, so they're just part of the Eldar now, which is fine because they were part of the Eldar, but they used to have their own book, but now they're part of the Eldar book. Okay, well, that's fine. But they just play like the other factions now? Is that how that works? That's interesting. Oh, Sevens, that's the same thing as being deleted.
Kakarot, and he would just find it very funny to watch me fumble the discussion of one human
Oh, Sevens.
on a tiny blue planet across the galaxy.
Oh, shit.
Oh, speaking of,
The Imperium of Man.
Earth, or Terra, as it's called, was ruined.
Our
One
boy.
man who looks to put the pieces back together. Where did he come from? We don't know.
He's
Some
beautiful.
say he was the result of early shamans. Some say he is the final old one who escaped their species genocide. And those that are smartest know the answer is, it doesn't matter. He revealed himself as the Emperor of Mankind, and he was tasked with the most monumental upheaval of humanity possible. The Aeldari fluctuations had turned the golden age of humanity into old night. Interstellar travel cut off? Check. An AI uprising? Check. Brand new psychers popping up and not knowing how to handle their powers? Oh, check. Demonic
What is this man tried to rob a bank, paying $500 to wizard to make him invisible?
incursions? Check. Thousands of years this occurred, and now the Emperor of Mankind showed himself to put the pieces back together. Unifying Terra under his rule, the Emperor founded the Imperium of Man.
The Imperium of Man.
He was the supreme leader, and nothing could stand against him. He wished to remove
Thunder
mankind
Fist, or
from
whatever.
the yoke of its former failures, and he knew he would be the best leader they could have because he was right. AI banned, religion banned. You did as the Emperor told you, or his Thunder Warriors would put you in your place. That place often being a grave. Now
Banned
Terra
from life.
was thriving, but humanity needed to reclaim its lost brethren scattered across the stars. But to do so, he needed those that could build him a fleet truly meant for the reconquering of the galaxy. And so he turned his attention to the red planet of Mars.
Just kidding. Adeptus Mechanicus. Wait, the Imperium of Man was like not looked at.
Mars allies long before the Unification Wars. Mars was the first world terraformed by humanity and became what would ultimately be the first hive world, an epicenter for industry.
I learned about the hive world is basically like enormous populations in one area.
And technology. The Age of Strife did not treat the red planet.
They were supposed to be self-sufficient, but they simply are not and need enormous amounts of imports to like work. They're New York.
Kindly,
Hundreds of millions,
Mars was cut off from Terra during this time.
They're big.
And the warp storms that ravaged the planet turned it into an absolute nuclear hellscape.
Oh,
Those on the surface were turned into your run-of-the-mill mutant if they even survived the bombings they inflicted on themselves.
Oh my
but
God.
Others were lucky enough to escape beneath the red
Lucky,
sands
huh?
in powerful fallout shelters. These became their generational habitats, but this resulted in extreme reliance on technology and those who could use it. They began to view the technology keeping them alive less as a technological advancement and more of a divine intervention, with those skilled in
in it as priests. The Martians
My
began
God.
to worship the power of the machine. And
This is how I feel when somebody fixes something at work and I wasn't able to. I'm like, you are a tech priest.
this resulted in the formation
Tech
of the
support turned
cult
into religion.
the belief
Seriously.
in a holy trinity known as the 3-in-1. The machine god, serving as the spirit who gave rise to all technologies known, the motive force, the deity that gives all life its ability to live, and the Omnissiah, a physical manifestation of the machine god itself. This belief began to manifest in them physically as well. What were once humans began to really mess around with the character creator options, and this tech obsession made them view instances of flesh to be weak and spend their lives removing what makes them human and replacing it with mechanical augments. Robotics, glowing eyes, mechadendrite arms. What was once a mass of flesh now looks like the back of a router, and the oldest members of the Mechanicus no longer even look slightly human.
Oh my God.
Cloaked over all of their mechanical appendages are robes that reflect the color of their homeworld, the red robes of the Mechanicus.
The weakness of the flesh disgusts me. This is Victor from Arcane.
A fascinating combination of cultures all birthed into one. Basically, techno-zealot monks. Organic machine god's greatest accomplishment within the scope of the
back
great work.
image?
All praise he who is 3-in-1. By giving us life within an organic shell, he presents us with the means and opportunity to improve upon physicality, as is his divine plan. He grants a complex weakness so we might learn metallic strength and ascend to his level of machinic perfection. The Emperor's arrival to Mars was very much a walking in with the pizzas while the room is on fire moment. But to the Mechanicum, they saw his arrival as confirmation of their belief. They took one look at the glowing golden entity that showed up on their doorstep and were like, that's him. That's the guy right there. And they immediately accepted him as the Omnissiah. Obviously showing up.
I didn't know this. Wait, the Adeptus Mechanicus, he is the Omnissiah.
Being called Machine Jesus.
They think Big E is the Omnissiah.
Shortly after wiping out all instances of non-Machine Jesus a little bit beforehand is an instance of capital.
They think he's Machine Jesus. See, I knew the Omnissiah was Machine Jesus, but I didn't know he showed up and fixed stuff. Okay. So I didn't know the Omnissiah was and Big E were the same things. I'm not even gonna lie. I thought that the Omnissiah was like their own machine god separate from the Emperor, but he hated being called the Omnissiah. Yeah, he was very, very against religion. So that makes sense. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I was loudly adjusting. There we go. Okay. Oh shit. I need to click back on here. There we go. It's gonna flash. All right.
Age heresy, but the Emperor saw the bigger picture. Were they strange with how they rubbed unguents on themselves, burned incense, and prayed to machines for them to work? Sure, but that's a
little
production
weird.
right there. So
A
the
little out
Emperor
there.
gives the Treaty of Olympus Mons, a unifying agreement between Terra and Mars.
We'll
and
make
this
you
union
guns.
will be permanently etched into the Aquila of the Imperium as the two-headed eagle. One head for Terra, the other for Mars. The forces of the Emperor will be
Interesting. Wait, let me go back.
two-headed eagle.
Which one had? Okay, it's the same on both sides, or does one have a bigger eye?
One head for Terra, the other for Mars. The forces of the Emperor will be supplied with all the technology and weapons they needed to reunite the scattered remnants of humanity under one banner. And the Mechanicum of Mars will be able to keep doing what they were doing religiously and scientifically, so long as they kept up their tithes.
So basically, in order to maintain their religion, Big E was like, "Sorry, man, you gotta basically be a servant." One of the eagles is blind. Oh, one has a filled-in eye. Oh, okay, I see. I wonder why. Different interpretations of the two-headed eagle and the Imperium and what it means. I see. Okay.
Tithe meant total quality control over all technology in the Imperium. Is it a big spaceship? Admech take care of that. Tanks? Admech take care of that. The literal bullets in a gun? You guessed it. But Unlike the factories of today, the Forge Worlds of Mars and the creations of the Mechanicum are a bit of a different experience altogether. Instead of a factory on a random given world, the entirety of the planet's surface is dedicated to manufacturing. But that's a little tricky.
Damn. You must have to import a lot of stuff. Build me something you call me God. Exactly. How do you get enough metal?
Considering that the usage of silica animus, or AI, is a
my
big
God.
no-no, and basically the largest
rock.
affront to their divine machine
He's
god
eating a
possible.
rock.
Fortunately, there's a really neat alternative that they've come up with, and that's called a servitor. Incredible devices that can do anything from manufacturing, maintenance, basic door operation,
They're alive.
and just float around like a helpful little drone. It's an extremely easy process too. All you need to do is take a human who is dying or preferably an enemy of the state, most likely that one, and lobotomize them, and then reprogram their brains to do exactly what they tell you. They even got
It's a dead guy.
little baby versions of them. Yay! So now you can rest easy
No.
knowing that the entirety of the Imperium, because they outlaw AI and learning new tech is heresy, is run on lobotomized slaves. Whether they deserve it or not is unimportant, and whether they can still keep their consciousness trapped in their own minds is another thing entirely.
Shut that up. Did you hear it?
Your incompetence is showing.
An excerpt.
The servers, you turn your microwave on and it starts to scream. That's pretty much that is Warhammer. You turn your microwave on, it's like, oh god.
From the servitor creation factories. Naked human beings were standing in a switch-packed line between high fences. The manufactorum produced servitor, but it was more akin to an abattoir than a workshop. Every surface was easily cleanable. Servitors with spray units surgically attached to their backs prowled about, hosing filth from drains set into the perfectly smooth, slanted floors. As the line slowly advanced, the people were passed through various scanning devices.
Oh my
Most of
god.
them mounted in ugly, functional arches that let out a constant series of acceptance chimes. Occasionally, one would let out an angry blare, and the indicator lumens would flash red. The rejected person was then swallowed up by a trapdoor opening beneath their feet. From these pits wafted a hideous stench and the grinding sounds of industrial mincers. One rejected man grabbed onto the lip and hung there, arms and hands bloodied, shouting a stream of defiant profanities. Guards lined the grating either side of him and shocked him until he fell. The adepts wouldn't even waste bullets on these people. The trapdoor flipped up, and the next terrified person was ushered forward. Violet
Hideous Stench Pit was my nickname in college.
snatched them up and spread eagled them in the air, and a servitor shearer shaved them all over. At another, they were subjected to a high-pressure counterseptic wash whose chemical stink made me choke from 100 feet away. More
Chemical Stink was my nickname.
scanners, more rejects winnowed out. Machines forcibly dressed them in a heavy rubberized garment common to all monotask servitors. These were saggy on them, all one size, until another process shrank them to fit their bodies where metal cuffs, sockets, and collars bit into vulnerable flesh. The last few prayers gave way to screams at that point, and even the most stoic shouted in pain. They were ushered over a floor, buzzing with power that made them shriek with every footstep. "What's that for?" I asked. "Follicular inhibitor, to stop their hair from growing," he said.
Oh boy.
Freaking sweet, Lois. As for their science,
Oh my god. What? How do they even think of this shit?
the Mechanicum believe in the preservation
Just do
of
anything.
knowledge above all and the quest to expand it. However, as opposed to just
Sounds like a swell
innovating
time.
and inventing
Honestly,
on their
not
own
too
with their
bad.
vast technological know-how, they believe that it is a form of
Scarlet Way.
tech heresy. You see, because of their religious viewpoints on technology itself, they believe that the instruction booklet itself is just as holy as the Lego set it builds, and to innovate on that without the proper written knowledge is to go against the divine word of the machine god itself. All knowledge is already in the universe. You simply need to rediscovering it and attempting to invent something to improve upon divinity is very heretical. Prior to the Age of Strife, humanity was able to populate the stars with devices known as Standard Template Constructs, or STCs. These devices were, as far as we know, supercomputers with the ability to pull up and detail how to create literally anything a startup colony would need. Essentially, they were devices with the technological know-how so that you could make a home away from home. The Mechanicum will not make anything without an STC. Quite literally nothing, because this is the knowledge they seek, and that knowledge is divine. One time, Scout of the Imperial Guard found a functioning STC that provided the schematics on a knife that happened to be a bit lighter and a bit sharper.
They gave the guy a planet.
Than most other knives. These knives were adopted by 30 Space Marine chapters and were one of the most advanced discoveries of the century. This discovery was so significant that they were each awarded a planet.
Yeah, I remember. Yes, I remember. I watched Isander and Coda, and they were talking about how there was a knife so valuable that was so much better than the other knives that they were just like, holy fuck, this is rediscovered. This is like a crazy discovery. This is so much value to us. And the person who discovered it was just given a planet, and the guy was like, oh my god.
A planet for a machine that taught them how to make knives. Due to their religious organization, you can probably guess the Mechanicum are organized in a feudal
CSGO Lupa's crazy.
With the highest individuals in power being a part of the priesthood. Cream of the crop being the fabricator general of Mars itself, who serves as a high lord of Terra, but also oversees the entirety of the Mechanicum below. Below them are tech priests that oversee the cult for the quest of knowledge and other more straightforward theologies.
They're not even human at all.
Worlds tend to operate
they're just computers.
What can cause some power struggles within the Mechanicum because, you know, despite them all being weird robots, they love being given praise. And despite
who's a good Adeptus Mechanicus? They're human. There's a brain somewhere in there, but at some point, like, when are they still? They just replaced all their flesh with metal. But what about their organs? Like, do they have any organs? Like, do they poop? Okay, if they stop pooping, if they don't make poop anymore, they're not a person.
Who's a good servitor? The Imperium, they do actually have their own military forces. They have the Sknow private army and all their various 1920s Martian-style mechanisms like doom crawlers, Castellan robots, and of course, the Titan legions. Because nothing is cooler than a robot that towers over buildings. Ultimately, their very dogmatic view on technology as a whole has resulted in any innovation becoming absent, thus causing the Imperium to stagnate as a whole.
Wait, I gotta re-listen to that. What if they poop too much? Then they're superhuman.
Their very dogmatic view on technology as a whole has resulted in any innovation becoming absent, thus causing the Imperium to stagnate as a whole.
Because to innovate is against the manual. The manual part of technology is part of the holy text.
Lack of ambition to create anything new and the wholesale murder of anyone who even tries leads to things becoming derelict. I grow weary of this flesh I was born into, strangely disgusted by its nature. I crave only the cold, clean certainty of steel and silicon, that I might become one with the blessed machine. I do not expect you to understand, you who cling to your flesh as if it were immortal, seeking only to preserve it, to protect it. One day you will see the folly of your ways, and then no doubt you will come begging to my order to preserve you. After the groundwork had been set unification-wise, it was time to start getting things together for the Emperor's
I like my saggy flesh.
great crusade across the stars to bring humanity under one banner. The Thunder Warriors were a perfect fighting force for unifying Terra and Luna, but the galaxy was a whole different thing. You see, these warriors weren't soldiers in the eyes of the Emperor. They were tools, extremely blunt tools used for the fast conquest of Terra. As the Emperor was concerned, the tools you use at home aren't the same ones you take on a road trip. So the Emperor rid himself of his tools in the exact manner you think he did, and he went forward to crafting a brand new tool. One more mobile, more efficient, and ready for his next era of conquest.
Is that a
they
coffee
shall
brewer?
be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me.
Wait, so what happened to the Thunder Boys? Did he kill the Thunder Boys? Wait, where are the Thunder Boys? They got killed? Did he do it? They were disposed of by custodies? So what happened? Got united? Did they so was there a good reason for him to Thunder kill the Thunder Boys. And the Thunder Warriors are on a farm upstate. They weren't made for... So, loose end? He was just done with them. Really? They are dated... Oh, they were kind of crazy, maybe? Tools and extremely flawed. So they weren't really... They were mentally unhinged. Okay, so they had problems. They were like, I know I'm supposed to kill this planet and save all the people, but what if I don't save any of the babies? Kind of stuff. Like, they just wouldn't... They would be not good. Kind of stuff. Like, maybe mentally... theoretically bad. I think that, you know, I'm gonna save this planet, but what about not the women and the children? Maybe... And give their organs out after a while. Oh, their organs give out. Gotcha. And the reason lore was established how Biggie saw his creations are tools nor entity. Okay. Biggie's not a god. He's just a guy. So, like, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, oh my god, that's fucked up. He's just a weirdo. He usually snap and kill each other mid-fight. So do the Space Marines. Even stronger than the current Space Marines, but they had almost unfixable flaws. Well, I wonder if any of this kind of history plays into why, like, Mr. Blood Angel hid a lot of the problems in his gene seed and didn't tell a lot of people, including Biggie, about the thirst. They're like, oh, well, we've seen what happens when you're flawed. Time to hide. Yes and no. Still have all the same. What was his name? Why can't I remember Blood Angel Boy? What's that guy's name? He's dead. He's super dead, right? Blood Angel Boy's dead. Sanguinius. I know he dies. Sanguinius, no!
Like clay, I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns will they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines so that no foe can best them in battle.
There's a theory that when the Crusade was finished, the Space Marines would have gone the same way as the Thunder Warriors. It's like, Biggie's like, well, you've done an amazing job, everybody. It is time to die.
They will be my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my...
The Space Marines are beautiful blue boys.
Shall know no fear. The vastness of the Milky Way galaxy meant that the Emperor needed assistance bringing everyone back to the fold. And who better to do this than himself? But since the technology to be in many places at once does not exist anymore, the Emperor decided that it was time to become a dad, the same way Geppetto did, and with far less care. It is not my son, Arkin. None of them are. They are warlords, generals, tools bred to serve a purpose, just as legions were bred to serve a purpose.
Do they share your DNA?
What a dad. The Primarch
What a good
Project
dad.
was started
My
to
God.
create charismatic
Hats
and
off.
unique leaders in the Imperial military. The diversity of these eventual leaders meant that each one could be specialized for certain circumstances across the galaxy. Depending on the conflict, one leader might be better than the other. So instead of forcing one leader to acclimate to a situation, it would be better to send a specialized leader and force to handle it. In order to do this, the Emperor used his genetic know-how and maybe a little bit of that forbidden stuff to create these genetically perfect gene fathers that had to serve as his analog directly, and also serve as the leaders of the respective Space Marine legions.
And they're gone.
All 18, that's right, all 19 of his sons were meant to be...
What the? Wait.
20, all 18, that's right, all 19 of his sons were meant to be directly molded by the Emperor himself, despite their genetic differences.
So has there ever been an update with any of these guys where suddenly we have Alfarius and Omegon? Omegon? Remember the twins. He's including the twins now. So in the previous video, he didn't include the twins as 2 to be 19. But the twins are now 19. Okay. Even though they're considered, I don't know why they're considered like 1 sometimes. So I don't know why.
They go as follows in order: Lionel Johnson,
the Lion,
Percherabo, Jagatai Khan, Lehman Russ, Rogel Dorn, Conrad Kurz, Sanguinius, Ferris Manus, Engron, Robute Gilliman, Mortarion, Magnus the Red, Horus Lupercal, Lorgar, Vulcan, Corvus Corax, and Alfarius and Omegon. His sons finalize
and Alfarius and Omegon, he says, as though they are one.
To be the warriors he needed them to be were complete. But he may have decided to do a bit of dabbling with things he shouldn't
I'm
have.
Alferis as well.
And paid a price. Before the Primarchs were ready to go, an intervention by the gods of chaos prevented his plan from being completed as intended. Though the sources vary, the ultimate result of the Chaos God intervention was that all of the Emperor's tools were scattered throughout the galaxy at unknown places and times. Each one of his sons ended up in a completely different world, and instead of being able to directly influence their upbringing, these children were instead forced to experience the unique nature of their respective homeworlds. Some had a great time and lived in general luxury. Others, not so much. Despite his closest advisor, Malkador the Sigilite, saying, "All right, Chief, let's try this one again," the Emperor sensed each of his sons were still very much alive. And one of the primary objectives of the Great Crusade shifted to reclaiming each of his sons so they could take command of their specific Space Marine legions and carry out his will. These original Space Marine legions that were created alongside their Primarchs go, in order, the Dark Angels, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, Space Wolves, Imperial Fists, Night Lords, Blood Angels, Iron Hands, Warlords, Ultramarines, Death Guard, Thousand Sons, Luna Wolves of Sons of Horus, the Bearers, Salamanders, Raven Guard, and the Alpha Legion. Space Marines, unlike their gene fathers, the Primarchs are not made in a vat. There is a process to recruit more members from humanity itself, which seems a bit strange considering how massive a Space Marine is compared to a normal man, but don't forget,
19 surgeries.
Really good with genetics. Less go with anesthetic, however. These prospects are recruited across humanity from various reasons and methods, and are generally killed during that process. But sometimes they aren't, and they are able to go through more and more of the actual training to assess certain traits that are important and relevant to being a Space Marine. Most of the time, the common factor is a pure, unrelenting willingness to kill the enemies of the Imperium. After going through psychological screening, the prospect, now called a neophyte, goes under the knife to become a Space Marine. And here is a quick list of all the cool new stuff they get genuinely shoved into their bodies. A secondary heart, an organ that makes your bones grow, an organ that makes your muscles big, an implant that makes your blood stronger.
A lot of these are just like literally like hormone glands that they just get slammed in. They just keep putting new ones in.
A little organ that turns your white blood cells into super white blood cells, a brain implant that allows you to sleep while being awake, a pre-stomach that allows you to digest literally anything, a spinal implant that allows you to absorb the genetic memories of what you eat, bigger and better lungs that can let you breathe underwater, an implant that gives you stronger eyes.
Not better lungs, it's an extra lung.
New ears that keep you from being dizzy, a brain
implant
that lets you go into suspended animation.
I know that it's an extra lung because he said so in his podcast.
If you're in a bad shape, skin that acts like transition glasses, I almost got it in one take, a brand new kidney, it tastes the air and find enemies like a bloodhound, a special coating on your skin that allows you to be protected in space, the ability to spit acid, a gland that allows you to absorb the unique genetic makeup from the gene seed in the first place, and a straight up carapace that allows the Space Marine to interface with their power armor directly. Quite often,
let's go! Sorry, the music was so good.
These are put inside of you at dubious levels of mental alertness and dubious levels of anesthetic. After a more generalized indoctrination into the faith of the Imperium and a bit more training and other important manners, they can finally be welcomed as a fully fledged Space Marine. A Space Marine is quite literally a walking tank that is armed to the teeth. Two of the more iconic weapons held by a Space Marine are their bolt gun, which fires explosive shells the size of soda cans, and a chain sword, which is the Space Marine is clad in a colorful carapace known as power armor, crafted from extremely heavy and durable ceramite. The power armor of a Space Marine protects him from any terrors he may face, be it the void of space itself to an inhospitable atmosphere. This armor, combined almost biologically with an already massive physique, makes the Space Marine an almost unstoppable fighting force.
It's like look, there's like a ceremony or something.
And hell, if the armor doesn't protect them enough, they can always become a walking coffin like the dreadnoughts of the chapters are. What truly adds to it all,
I need to know more about dreadnoughts.
However, is the sheer difference in some of them. While a Space Marine in its own right is an indoctrinated freight train on legs, how they act can be quite different from chapter to chapter. The gene seed of a Primarch
True.
is not just helping them become big and strong, but allows them to gain certain traits from their forefathers. Everything from how they think to even slightly adjusting their physical appearance once it's been implanted. The gene seed can be the personality of an entire Space Marine. Take the Salamanders, for example.
The salamanders!
Salamanders have a predisposition to fire as a whole, and tend to be extremely large due to the size of their Primarch, Vulcan, and his enormous stature. Whereas someone like Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, share more vampiric features and more angel-like qualities. A gene seed is not just aspects of the Primarch, but they are also
Vulcan lives! Vulcan!
flaws too. Magnus the Red and his 1,000 Sons underwent something known as the Flesh Change, a horrifying mutation that, while it made them strong psychers, would affect their bodies so terribly that they would mutate away from humanity. Where other factions have inspiration
He got
for their
wings.
culture from our real world, like the feudal Japanese.
He does. He's literally fine.
Now the Necrons, each Space Marine chapter themselves
What is this? Obama!
carry an inspiration. The White Scars are motorcycle riding Mongolian fighters. The Space Wolves are Norse Vikings. The Dark Angels are Knights of the Round Table, and so on. This moves into their fighting style, and truthfully, there is no end to the characters and options when it comes to the Space Marines.
There's
Space
so much
Marines are the
variety.
main symbol you see, and while many of them can be simply indoctrinated warriors who only care about conflict and can be quite boring, then you meet Dante, or Bjorn, or Argel Tal, or Karn, or Lucius, or Erebus. And then you discover the wealth of these characters and tools of war you can have. For 1,100 years, I have fought and I have seen the darkness in our galaxy. I have seen the vileness of the alien and the heresy of the mutant. I have witnessed the sin of possession, and I have seen all the evil that the galaxy harbors, and I have slain all whose presence defiles the Emperor. I have seen what you will see. I have fought what you must fight, and I have slain what you must slay. So fear not and be proud, for we are the sons of Sanguinius of mankind. We are indeed the angels of death.
Horus is a whore.
Despite being the poster children for Warhammer 40k as a whole, the presence of a Space Marine is a rare sight for the countless trillions of humans across the galaxy. Seeing one of these monstrosities is like seeing something akin to an angel sent by the Emperor himself. These angels of death are the essential fighting force to bring humanity back under the unified banner of the Imperium. Yet ultimately, the Space Marines are individuals torn from their families and conscripted to genetic modification and lifelong service for the dying Imperium. And though they are held in an almost holy light, most believe they are above and beyond the people they are designed to serve. And as the protectors of humanity, they seldom view humanity as something worth saving, to the extent that it is a tiny, minute rarity, though not unheard of, for a Space Marine to put a normal citizen above them in any way. For most Space Marines...
Actually, I've heard that one of like the Salamander's flaws is that they're too willing to sacrifice themselves for an average citizen, and it's actually like it's logistically a nightmare because a salamander, it takes hundreds of people to make one salamander. So praise the salamander. So it's a logistical nightmare for a salamander to be willing to sacrifice themselves for like one person. They're the goats.
Primarchs, they are only here to do a job. They are there to kill the enemies of humanity, and I would be remiss if I didn't add at least one more of my favorite quotes to the tail end of this section. The time for speeches is done, said Rogel Dorn. The first great test is here. My order to you all is simple, yet heed it well, and exert yourselves to see it done.
This is the wall boy, right?
They are coming, kill them all. While the Space Marines are the spearhead of the Imperium's Great Crusade and also a major player in its warfare, there is a significant amount of importance that must be taken on their transport. What sci-fi universe would be complete without its navy? When you think of the navy or ships on the open sea, you think of something that is sleek, something mobile, and something pretty big. For perspective, the longest self-propelled ship in history was the TTC-Wise Giant, an oil tanker that was about 458 meters long or over about 1,500 feet. This right here
is child's play in the world of 40k ships.
Shoot.
That is considered to be an escort vessel
Oh,
in the Imperium
shoot.
is about 3 times
boy,
the
yes.
size of a sea-wise giant, and the size of the ships only go up from there. Your most common ships are the cruisers.
damn.
The light cruiser tends to average at about 2 kilometers long, or just over a mile in length, where the Dictator class cruisers can be over 3 kilometers or 2 miles in length.
Oh my
The
God.
largest ships are your battleships, and they are tremendous. We're talking 5
Big.
mile long, half a mile high
5.
monstrosities that look like gigantic Gothic cathedrals and filled to the
Oh.
brim with weaponry. And not
Guys, what happened to the death of architecture? Why does everything look so boring nowadays? Why can't our boats look like Gothic cathedrals?
only are they filled with weapons, but they are also jam-packed with crewmen. Battleships tend to carry a crew between
Modernism.
several thousand to several million, and they need every single one
Wow.
of those members because we don't have advanced technology for other things to pilot themselves or control themselves in a meaningful way because there's no AI. A lot of this
Oh.
stuff has to be done manually. Even the reloading of those giant batteries is a form of manual labor. And of course, generally
Oh.
speaking, gliding through the stars is a very slow way to do things. And let's be honest,
They
there
warp
can't be a science
thing. They go
fiction
through the
setting
warp.
without some form of hyperspace travel. This form
Budget
of
lazy architects,
travel
real.
is
Cost cutting.
less like going to Plaid in Spaceballs and more like going into Davy Jones' zipper dimension in SpongeBob.
Oh, now what? I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this? Some kind of magic?
I forgot about this. This is like ancient.
This is because it utilizes
SpongeBob was so peak, man.
the immaterial warp to do so. Warp travel is
Zipper
handled by a
dimension.
navigator, which is an
It's a perfect
abhuman.
example. It
It's a
really
mutated
is.
human, don't worry about it. And they have a gene that gives them
Wait.
navigator, which is an abhuman. It's a mutated human, don't worry about it.
It's just furry order cat girls. Those are different things. Once it's got a muzzle, it's a furry. It's until it's got a muzzle, it's a cat girl.
And they have a gene that gives them a third eye and the ability to help steer the ship through the warp, which, as we know, is hell itself and unreality. Now, this might sound exceptionally dangerous, and that's because it is. Now, the ship does have protection in the form of a Geller field, though. Originally, I assumed the Geller field is what you think it is, a large force field stopping all manner of horrible things, like demons from the warp
Oh my
tearing
God.
apart your ship. How
That
wrong
effect.
I was, though. So space travel to warp
So
basically
goofy.
involves riding on the Sea of Souls. Hell
Yeah.
is real and you can surf on it. So you allow the current to carry you and the navigator to direct. But how can a current of souls and unreality carry you when it doesn't obey the laws of physics, time, or, again, reality? What a Geller
Emperor.
field is not a force field, but a comatose Imperial psyker dreaming of reality. It is not a bubble. It is a force of reality being projected by mutant Sleeping Beauty to counteract the unreality of the warp that you can then surf on. This, of course,
I am okay. I get the basic fundamental of a sleeping guy projects you forward, but I don't understand the exact mechanic of it. That being said, Sleeping Beauty make it go forward. Also, I do remember that, like, basically, if you're an extremely powerful psyker or just extremely powerful in general, you can accidentally dream things into reality in the warp. So in the warp, there, like, the lion actually had a dream so powerful of his homeworld that, like, there's a copy of the lion's homeworld in the warp, right? I know that. Sleeping Beauty keeps the demons out. Okay, so Sleeping Beauty has a sleeps the demons away. Creates a bubble of reality which allows the ship's engine to work. Oh my god, okay, so we're dreaming reality to reality? Or are we dreaming unreality out or dreaming reality in? Like, the bubble, are we keeping the warp out? Or are we keeping the reality in this bubble? Dreaming reality in. Okay, this thing's really hard about reality and it imposes reality in this tiny bubble. I'm dreaming of a Wendy's. I'm dreaming of a, oh my god, Big Mac, double T. You can really do it anything. Wow, you could kind of dream anything around here.
is not a foolproof
This is
method of
crazy.
travel, and Geller fields can and do collapse fairly regularly. Being
Oh, no.
subjected to the warp itself without this Geller field is a terrifying prospect. In the best
So it lets the warp in if it collapses.
case scenario, your ship will be torn to shreds. But there are countless instances of ships being thrown out of the warp randomly throughout time itself. You leave for a 2-day mission and you come back 90 years in the past. Maybe you feel like you're lost in the warp for a century and it's only been 45 minutes. And that is...
Oh my god. Yeah, I know that like the warp is time and space is in there, so you can accidentally like go out for like a little drive and end up like before the pyramids were made.
Only if the waves of souls don't rip your ship apart or have demons arrive on it to do unspeakable things to the crew.
So question, Horus Heresy. Why did nobody try to surf back in time right after it to prevent Horus from killing Big E? Or to prevent Magnus from ripping a hole in the... Can you just like not change reality? You can't control it. Oh, dude, what if though? Eventually somebody just happens to land out and like doesn't work like that. Okay, so it doesn't work like what? So it's random and you can't control it, but in the right place, right time, what could you do? They'd have to be able to assassinate Horus. That's true. The kind of travel. I mean, you will end up in some time, right? You're telling me nobody's ended up in 30,000 and been like, Emperor, I'm from the future and you're dead. You have to kill Horus. Well, I guess he would be like, bro, I'm gonna fucking, there's no way, because Horus was his favorite. Emperor, you're not gonna believe this guy fucking kills Sanguinius, and then you kill him and he kills you. Emperor, you have to get the fuck out of here. Don't let Magnus do the dumb thing. Magnus is gonna rip a hole. Dude, you have to do something. Emperor! They're gonna make AI. Go even further back. Happened the other way, no? Oh, someone... Oh, this happened. Okay. In the inverse happened, they got executed. Did somebody from like 50,000 come back and be like, there's no Primarchs left. They're all dead. And they were like, you're a heretic, and shot them. No, people from 30k ended up in 40k. Oh, I see. One person maybe at the top of the custodian sphere for able to warn it. Okay, well, not like going to the Emperor, right? Going to like the Administratum, which I mean, in like, I don't know, 500 years, that message might make it to the Emperor. Clue says the current predicament. Oh my god. Went to the future and got so disgusted by what he saw, he went back. Which one? People from... So it seems to be easier to go into the future than it is to go in the past. And it seems like if you go into the future, you just die. 30k, including Marines from heretic legions, would end up in 40k, and it's theorized some of the legions we don't know origins for are loyal are actually time-ported 30k loyalists from traitor chapters. Oh, they're like, I'm a Luna Wolf. And they're like, you mean a son of Horus? They're like, no? All right, we gotta continue.
The Imperial Navy is an astronomically powerful force for the Imperium because the sheer volume of ships and guns on those ships create firepower that can sunder planets. This is all juxtaposed with the sheer backwater nature of these ships. While they are manned by crews of zealots, they are also operated with such a backwater tech, it completely confuses the reader. You see the long batteries of portside cannons that the ship has, and remember that AI is heresy in this world and that all the mechanics are utilized by lobotomized slaves. So how do they load these? Well, they have gun gangs, massive gangs of hundreds of people manually loading these cannons. These are genuine gun loader gangs that get into gang wars and squabbles. On the ship's
gun loader gangs? The cartel's future.
Bridge, you may find the captain himself hardwired directly into the ship's chair permanently to control it the best they can. Giant screens.
Permanently? He just lives there?
Data fill the room and send.
Does that guy have a gamer chair though?
Across the ship are just as likely to tell you information as a serf running up to you with a scroll of parchment is. You reach to a microphone to shout orders down a hallway as paper readouts tell you information of the enemy, and holy sigils and candlelit incense burners gleam your next move. While the
oh shit. Oh wait, I can't even read this. The Imperial Navy. The Imperial Navy
is not a specific faction of the Imperium.
Permanent military. Shit, sorry. Wait, what was it called?
Not a specific faction of the Imperium.
Never mind. I can't read the text.
In the same sense and format of this video,
they have a navy.
What shepherds around the entirety of its armed forces. Every Space Marine Primarch had a flagship, and every strike cruiser and battle barge has a story to tell. But if there is a single thing that the Shield of the Navy does the best, it is to help support and supply the monumental forces of the Imperium. the hammer of the Emperor himself, the uncountable men and women of the
Imperial Guard.
I don't care
Oh, I wonder how they supply those people.
if these things have adapted to resist our las guns. If we can't kill them with our rifles, then we'll kill them with heavy bolters. And if we can't kill them with heavy weapons, we'll use grenades. And if grenades don't work, then we'll fight them with our swords and our knives and our bare hands. We'll drown them in our blood. That's what it means to be a soldier of the Imperial Guard. Now follow me. Charge!
We'll drown them in our blood, not the
There's
Navy.
no better symbol of the might of the Imperium itself than the Astra Militarum, or as it is commonly known, the Imperial Guard. Though the Space Marines
Astra
take the glory
Militarum.
and stand as the visual representation of the Imperium, their numbers are dramatically thin and specialized in comparison. To reclaim a million worlds, you need a countless number of troops willing to fight and die for your cause. The Imperial Guard represents the Imperial truth made manifest. Every year, the worlds of the Imperium pay a tithe in the form of soldiers to fight the good fight of the Emperor, and this number is impossible to pin down. Even saying billions would be a dramatic understatement. The sheer volume of soldiers serves as the fundamental backbone of the Imperium. 99.9% of battles fought by the Imperium are fought by the sundering might of the Imperial Guard. With the
What? I kind of, it's easy to forget the concept of like, it's all Space Marines all the time. But like, okay, we've got like trillions of people with just guns being like, well, nothing really worked. Blood? Do we drown them with our blood? Like, I guess we're gonna have, guys, we're gonna have to flood the planet again. All right, drown. Whoa, I'll die to drown the guys in their blood.
knowledge that the Space Marines are essentially sentient tanks, what do the members of the Imperial Guard have? If they're the might of the Emperor himself, are they not up in a similar way? No. Not really. No fancy suits, no biological enhancements, and basically no expectation to live. Once a regiment guard are activated, they are sent directly into battle with almost no expectations that they will survive. This is because, despite their training, their incredibly powerful armor, and extremely strong weapons that would crush any army of the modern day, they are so hopelessly outmatched to the things they will face. Sending a member of the guard is throwing a rock at a nuclear bomb. However, where they lack advancement, they make up for in sheer numbers, and they're
This is so Roman Empire, because if you do not know, early Roman Empire basically kept getting their asses kicked by their neighbors. The fucking the Latin tribes surrounding them. But the Romans didn't really fucking care because they just had 1 trillion people, so they were okay losing and losing and losing. They would just keep coming back. Eventually they had like war tactics, but like man numbers really won. The Etruscans. My boy, the fucking Etruscans, let me tell you. Those guys were not very nice to it wasn't even Rome at the time. It was the Latin League.
force can be the difference maker in any deployment they face. Quantity is a quality all its own. If they do happen to survive, they will be sent to the next battle, and so on.
The Etruscans are an extinct society that was west of Rome, and kind of like a premier society before Rome, during Rome's beginnings, when it was the Roman Republic, even before it. And Rome took a lot of inspiration from them, on where Florence is today. It's more ancient China coded because the theory is that and there was a lot of fashion from Asian cultures. The theory is that it was a colony of an Asian country. Asian individuals came and colonized an area of Italy. So it was theorized that the ruling class was Asian and the paupers were actually just Italian natives, which is crazy. Like, one of not seen. So now you know about the Etruscans. Sorry, let's get back to this. Let me back up a bit.
Deployment they face. Quantity is a quality all its own. If they do happen to survive, they will be sent to the next battle.
Unlikely.
And so on. Seldom do members of the Astra Militarum get old or retire, and those that do are truly to be feared. There's an old saying that the average lifespan of a guardsman is about 15 hours from deployment, and considering the sheer number of guardsmen out there in any given battle, that number is probably accurate. When several million of your pool of guardsmen die within the first few hours of combat because the orcs threw a moon at you, it can really screw the numbers. The soldiers of the Guard are conscripted and trained on an incredible number of worlds in the Imperium.
Purple eyes,
and
Cadians.
These worlds can impact their training and their combat style directly. The most famous visually are the Cadian shock troops. But other notable Guard factions include the gas mask clad Death Queen, the Rambo level of jungle fighters, and the iron-willed Mordian Iron Guard. This also helps them specialize against
Look at that face! Seen demons literally.
individual types of enemies. The Indigan Prefects are a special guard regiment that came from whose planetary governor, the leader of the planet, thought it was fun to collect exotic animals, which then crossbreed and then became the giant freight train-sized monsters destroying the planet. So the Indigan Prefects are specialized for big monsters.
Oh my god.
Hello, Tyrannus. One particularly interesting in the Guard is the enforcement officer known as the Commissar, and they are one of the more visually striking members of those. These are specialized Imperial officers and act as morale officers. But instead of songs to the troops and providing hot meals, the Commissars are there to make sure that the members of the regiment continue to fight to the bitter end. If a soldier does not meet the standards of the Commissar, the solution is simple. There are trillions of other soldiers out there. We don't really need you. Combat fatigue? Headshot. Concerns about the conflict? Headshot. Fleeing the battlefield? You bet that's a headshot. Considering that these officers tend to be outside of their regiment, feelings on them can be mixed. And
I will say, like, okay, battle fatigue. You can't give that guy like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a slap on the back and be like, 15-minute break, my guy. I feel like killing a guy immediately. Oh, you're gonna get millions and millions of people. Maybe it's not so bad. In
fairness, certain commissars.
Well, not so bad isn't the word. It's definitely a terrible thing to do.
Like the esteemed Ibram Gaunt or
it just doesn't seem to make sense.
Do a bit better with the whole people talking part, because if
PBJ
say you were
is
trying
luxury.
to tell a beefed up,
logistically unnecessary, but it's like, isn't it more effort than not to kill them? Corpse starch rations or a bullet. Damn.
Jungle fighter what to do, you might take a mysterious leave of absence inside a carnivorous plant. But no matter what I say, I don't think I can truly convey the sheer might of the Imperial Guard, so I'm gonna get a visual aid. Let's take a look at this image right here, right? This is the cover of the 9th edition Codex for the Militarum, the official cover art. Your eyes may be drawn to the dark and brutal looks of some of the main members on the front and the gigantic orc they are attacking, but zoom out a little bit. There is no floor. There is only
just people.
And behind those people are tanks. And behind those tanks are flying artillery shells. There are 2 enormous transport ships in the sky, and their ramps are down, and on their ramps are more people. The Imperium is described as having 1,000,000 worlds. 1,000,000
Oh, damn.
And each one of them gives soldiers to the Imperial Guard for the tithe. On a given battlefield, in a given fight, foot soldiers number in the millions, tanks in the tens of thousands, and you have enough artillery to turn the night sky day. You have walkers and APs.
Also, note that those tanks, they really kind of do appear to be on people. Like, surely they don't simply go on top of people,
you have
right?
Enough artillery to turn the night sky day. You have walkers and APCs and aircraft and horse cavalry and the size of a
Fight traction.
Troops and spec ops and rattling snipers and gigantic ogres that can't count to 4, but they can turn you into 4 pieces, and it just doesn't end. Humanity
this road's pretty bumpy.
Is a horde army, but instead of a horde of bugs or rampaging orcs,
it's
a living wall of guns. At the end of the day, though he's been ferried through hell on a ship that's 10,000 years old to some godforsaken war-torn rock, though he deployed from high orbit with nothing but a grav chute, though he is one of 10 million men and women snatched from his homeworld to fight a war he barely understands, though he has been given a weapon that fires small suns and may annihilate him as he fires because the knowledge of how it functions has been lost, though his company is supported by tractor tanks that run on anything you can burn, though he wages war against the devouring hive mind, ravenous demons and hordes of hyper-advanced aliens, technologies and sorceries he never dreamed existed. No one will remember his sacrifice. There will be no records of his deeds,
no glorious parades in his honor, and no remembrance of his name. All he will earn is a shallow, unmarked grave on a forgotten world untold light years from home.
Wow, I do not want to be in this universe unless I'm a main character.
For all this thankless sacrifice, a guardsman is a man, just like you. He has no millennia-old genetic engineering,
excuse me,
no miracles of faith. He has his lasgun, his orders, and those beside him. He is the Imperial Guard, and he will hold the line.
Actually, I think he'll die. Even that kind of sucks. That's true. None of us want to be here. I kind of want to just know about it.
Extra Militarum, despite fighting for the honor of the Imperium, are their own form of a massive horde army, where individuality
It's a horde army, yep.
They are merely numbers to the Imperium, and the vast majority of the conflicts they are sent to are attrition-based battles that gain virtually no ground, while countless millions die. Yet this makes them
guys, we need something
human. For the Imperial Guard
we need something new.
Normal people who are happy and sad, people who laugh and love, and in there are stories, because there is strength in facing the horrors of the universe head on with nothing but a rifle in your hands and a prayer on your lips. Armed with an innumerable amount of Imperial soldiers and Space Marines, the Navy begins its great crusade into the stars to rescue the stranded Primarchs and reunite them to their legions. But
you know, I think being an orc would be really fun. I want to know more about that, like that pollen thing they do. I want to know how orcs. Okay, chat, have a serious conversation with me. How are new orcs made? Like mushrooms? But like, how? Do they just grow out of the floor? I gotta see it. Yes, like dirt. Do they need dirt, or can they grow on anything? From the dust of dead orcs in dark places, spores emit from dead orcs, so they have to die. I want to see an ogre childbirth. I don't think there's any birth. I think it's just they happen. They grow. They grow in pods underground. Okay, they've got like mycelium, like a little mycelium. Like underground?
The biggest question needed to be asked was, what would they find? The age of strife lasted for thousands of years. If a civilization was still alive out there in the galaxy, what would they be like? The technological advancements of humanity prior to and during the Dark Age technology was unfathomable. It allowed them to spread through the galaxy with ease and allowed them to settle once inhospitable planets. These branches of humanity were provided with the vast knowledge of human creations and were given gigantic machines to make arduous labor and ease. The spreading of these massive colony ships was known as the Long March, and these ships would be retrofitted into settlements upon arrival to their new homes. Accompanying them were the gigantic pieces of farm equipment that served multiple purposes and the specialized pilots that could maintain them. They were not only able to tend to field labor.
Did they become war units?
But when interstellar communication was cut off, they also did a great job of protecting the colonists against both threats demonic and alien. Because of the significance of these machines, those that could pilot them were powerful enough to be considered leaders, and the upkeep and preservation of the machines and the lineage of those who could pilot them was imperative. These machines, over the thousands of years, would eventually be known as
how'd you know? The Imperial Knights! How'd you know?
Humble of heart,
it was said in the beginning of the video.
Be savage in war, loyal to hearth, and follow deeds of glory. He must keep honor with all, banish cowardice from his doings, and bring his house no shame. He must serve the Emperor and defend the Imperium. Thus should a knight rule himself.
It's literally a knight. Okay, gotcha. This is like the knighthood chivalry a royal bloodhood kind of patrician stuff.
Worlds to be cut off from the Imperium, and the reversion of these worlds resulted in the reverence for this farm equipment turned feudal, and the leadership that controlled the devices be viewed as a noble hierarchy. During the Age of Strife, exploratory fleets from Mars found plenty of these worlds, and it seemed the majority of them reverted to a similar state. Like King Arthur seeing Merlin himself, these feudal worlds welcomed the tech priests of Mars with open arms. The mutual relationship between the Admech and the nobility was beneficial. The Admech were able to secure more worlds for mining resources and potentially long-lost STC information, and the noble houses were provided with technological know-how and modifications from the Admech themselves. The
suits became more and more specialized, and their history as mere pieces of equipment were lost to time. What was once a truck became a killdozer, and the Imperial Knights were born. Unlike other military aspects,
but it's crazy that this was like just for farming. It's got a gun.
The nobility of the Knight houses remains just that, a nobility-focused feudal hierarchy that swears fealty to either the Mechanicum or to Terra. Like the Knights in our history, once they swear fealty, they can be called to aid their respective allegiance in the heat of battle. The ones that swear fealty to Terra are led by the High Monarch, while the ones with the Mechanicum are led by the Princeps. The ones with Terra—
Wait, I don't know. I didn't know any of this. Wait, let me go back.
High Monarch, while the ones with the Mechanicum are led by the Princeps.
Okay, the Princeps are with the Mechanicum and the Monarch are with Terra.
The ones with Terra might be sent directly to the front line of war, while the ones with the Mechanicum tend to be sent to protect the Forge world. And
so this stuff is technically not that impressive. It's just that we have lost so much technology that farming equipment is now strong. Mowing the fields, mowing the army. This is like wasn't supposed to fight, but it can be pathetic and still be good. Pretty much.
Heraldry of these houses is what you'd expect from a generic history of knights. Houses pledging allegiances here and there. You're run-of-the-mill War of the Roses aesthetic. Except instead of ponies, you have gigantic death machines. These knights can't simply be piloted by any old person, however. A member of the nobility of any given knight house must go through the ritual of becoming. This ritual involves them sitting on the device used to control the knight, known as the Throne Mechanicum, for a full night. What's wrong with that? I mean, sitting in a chair for a full evening sounds pretty great right about now. So
that's what I do all the time.
Cannot drive a knight. They can, but it moves about as effective as Ripley from Aliens 2, big, lifter thing. It is, in a sense, a beast that must be controlled, and a pilot must merge with it. The mind of the noble is connected to the machine and must fight with the mental signatures and personalities of the prior pilots as well. Everything a knight experiences in battle is felt by the pilot themselves, be it the general movement in the battlefield or damage sustained by the machine itself. If a knight's—
Why did they need this for the farming equipment? Was this added later?
Leg is blown off in battle, the pilot could experience a broken bone in the same spot. The merging to the machine forever changes the mentality of the noble that experiences it. This connection reinforces a strong degree of nobility and honor in the pilot, and a desire to fight for the glory of their house until the bitter end, as their ancestors' minds are linked directly to the knight. The size of these knights can vary, but generally speaking, they stand in the ballpark of 30 to 50 feet tall and are protected by a thick adamantium armor. Beyond that, they have their own unique ion shield generators that give them added protection, and when it comes to their looks, the most common pattern across the Imperium is the Questoris pattern, and is honestly the one you're probably thinking about right now. But there are also smaller versions and bigger ones known as the Dom. The loadout, these guys are essentially a violent Mr. Battles, Gatling cannons, heavy flamers, thermal
stacked
cannons,
on it.
Up close and personal. How about a gigantic chainsaw
so around
or
AI.
a straight gauntlet? And for that empty spot up top, screw it. More auto cannons. Maybe add some missiles. Whatever you can do to make it as over the top as
grenade
possible,
launcher.
you gotta do it. A squire serves a knight serves a lord serves a baron, and a baron serves a monarch. So who does the monarch serve? He serves every subject, from the rudest serf to the members of the court. Chivalric fealty, when ideally practiced, is not a pyramid, but a circle. Ironically, on the surface, night worlds themselves are one of the least grim, dark settings in the galaxy. Reverting to an ancient time with knights and peasants is almost an escapism from the techno-hell of the modern Imperium. But this, of course, doesn't make it great for everyone. It sounds fun on paper to play a game of knights, but it's not so fun when you're the peasant of that world. For the knights themselves, the knights give their entire lives to the Throne Mechanicum, and their reality is not their own, as they have to hear the voices of thousands of generations of their ancestors controlling their actions and their lives for as long as they live. It's a strange dichotomy. When it comes to Warhammer, most to all jobs tend to be terrible. However, if there was one that considered enjoyable, it would be the pilot of a knight, or a princeps of their larger cousins. While it does contain an egregious amount of hardship to be a knight pilot, you do enjoy a wealth of privilege. A knight pilot is often an asshole, who can back it up. The rich noble that, despite his braggadocious behavior, is still very much him, and he will continue to be him. But
He's him.
are not the only thing that the Imperium found lost in the stars during their Great Crusade. Due to the circumstances of the Age of Strife, humans were changing and adapting to their new homes they were now isolated on. Some of these humans evolved over thousands of years to adapt to these areas, and they were known as abhumans. Many abhumans
Yeah, so okay. I have never heard of abhumans until this video.
found their way into the Imperial Guard or other lesser positions in the Imperium if they were not wiped out immediately for being too different from their human counterparts. But their abilities and appearance vary from planet to planet, and one particular group of abhumans have
Altered
a
rock
name
and
for
stone.
themselves in the center of the galaxy.
Dwarves! The Leagues of...
The origins of what will
I
be
couldn't
known
read
as
it.
the Kin start at some point in Dark Age technology, where their ancestors
Let's
left
go!
a planet that is very much went to the galactic planet of its resources. They brought along with them everything that they would need for a long-term stay, most important of which were the incredible AI-based supercomputers, be it
AI? Ooh, can't still exist,
guidance,
huh?
technical or philosophical, schematic,
Freaking out.
or the ability to upload the memories of a deceased explorer to gather information from them.
Ooh.
These computers became an essential part
Heresy.
of their everyday life, especially considering that the galactic core is one of the most inhospitable places in the galaxy. It is
Oh
an
my God.
exceptionally star-dense location, full of abnormalities, black holes, and sentient hostile nebula. Whatever that last part means.
Yeah, I do. I don't. This is a general gist. Don't need to go everywhere, but I gotta look that one up
It is
too.
not a safe and easy place to make a living, and this only got worse thanks to the warp storms during the Age of Strife. In order to adapt to this area,
Oh, boy.
these travelers perfected a genetic makeup that made their future clones to be more adept to the area. These future clones would be shorter and more robust than their ancestors, and the need to procreate would be unnecessary because why risk messing up a good employee when you can just make a new one?
That's a good point. You could just print yourself a new guy. Why would you have Smex when you could just print people? What did the height differential add to, like, they planned out the short height, it seems? Consider setting nebula due to the scar. Ooh, perhaps. I don't think the nebula is part of me. It's a portal. Something about gravity. Oh, hey, that makes sense. You know, stronger knees, shorter legs,
These
more
would be
efficient.
known as the Squats, and they would all die, except for when they didn't. And now they are known by a different name. Most
Squats, and they all died, except now. Except they did.
void-faring races
Understood.
have at least one cautionary tale of foolish explorers vanishing amidst its blazing stellar nurseries and strange anomalies. Yet for the Leagues of Votann, the galactic core has been home now for millennia. These squat
Dang.
humanoids would begin to establish themselves
Dang.
in the core, and their goals would be the same as
In
their
the
ancestors.
core.
Getting stoned!
Rockin' Stone! Let's go! I didn't know anything about this. I knew nothing about these guys. I didn't know there were dwarves. Guys, I'm not even gonna lie. I have not played Deep Rock Galactic in a hot minute, and I do be kind of missing it right now. It's the Rockin' Stone spam in chat doing it to me. They're new. They're the newest faction. Thank God. Oh my God. I didn't know. So how often do they even like add factions? Because I know, like, I have been told that they have been more on the rise with adding kind of new lore. We're kind of in a renaissance of new lore, new stuff. Quote, new. Not a whole lot. Pretty rare. So, okay, so the returning faction that got removed. Was it like unpopular? And they were like, you know what? Maybe throw this out. Maybe once every edition, 2 editions, maybe every 5 years. Damn, that's pretty rare. Okay. We just got Emperor's Children. Really? Wait, how does that work? It's a sub-faction, so I don't know. Dark Metcopia. Dang, aren't new though technically. Like, lore-wise, not new, right? I'm wondering how often do they add factions to the lore? But they also seem to delete them, as they did with the Clown Elves. Let's continue.
But like, actually kinda, yeah. Whenever
Second
one of
Bricky.
them would die, they would know that that sucker would need to be uploaded to the machines like their forefathers did. But the original purpose of these machines was lost to time. What was once a technical resource for them turned into a ritual known as joining the ancestors. And the fact that they were clones at this point meant that the
Valhalla.
same of the same individual would be uploaded countlessly. The sheer overuse of these computers and the repeated uploading of redundant data has turned these once powerful supercomputers into your parents' computer after you install.
By the way, my day job, I am a database administrator, and I work in a database that is like 25 years old. So this is hilarious. And this is so applicable to me.
Installed LimeWire on it, and whose 50 Google Chrome tabs definitely contain information they will return to one day. So much
They remember
corruption
they're
that
there.
these computers began to develop the makings of a personality of their own.
Oh
These
my
would be
God.
known as the Votann, and the kin,
The
this
Votann.
dwarf-like abhuman of humanity, would revere them. The Votann still operate to this day, but the volume of corruption have made anything outside of their very basic functions highly unpredictable. They
I had no idea. So they kind of have a personality then. Dang.
may not answer a question for centuries at a time, and if they do provide an answer or data, it has become so corrupted and so incongruent that it takes a literal kin wizard to comprehend it.
A kin wizard, my guy. So, okay. Remember, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Wait, did you just say it's 42? What is the meaning of the universe? And she like has to wait hundreds of years, and she's like, what did she say? What was it? It's 40. What number was it? It was 4 something, right? Wasn't it 42?
The kin,
It's 42.
much like the dwarves,
This is the kin wizard. What does it mean? What does 42 mean?
of fantasy, exist nowadays as a mercantile species that constantly work to mine and manufacture. However, their capitalistic desires are dangerous. The biggest crimes a kin can face are being lazy, unproductive, and breaking a contract. Stellar
That's me as well.
conflicts have broken out over hundreds of years due to the breaking of a deal. So if you sign a contract with a kin, you best stick to it. Because of
Oh, okay. They are you just don't fuck around. 42 is the answer, you just know the question. This is truly Warhammer 42k. It's so real. Meaning of life and everything. That was it.
the kin have been known to interact with other species in a fairly common manner. This includes humanity, who have met various members of the kin multiple times, but constantly considered them to be all a different species. Famously, the Imperium noted that the kin they referred to as the Squats were their own species and were wiped out by the Tyranids. Little did they know, they were still around. The kin are acutely aware of 2 things. The first is that the humans of the Imperium are deeply terrified of technology, so the sheer existence of the Votann is a secret as well as the truth. This
Oh shoot. Okay. Oh my god. That's how I was like AI, a little bit of heresy going on. So they're hiding this.
extends also to the Iron Kin, sentient robots that are treated in the same esteem of flesh and blood kin,
Oh my god. Wait, sentient robots.
because kin is kin. The second thing they
Kin
are
is
aware of is
kin.
where they're from. They are fairly confident that they are from Terra, and they know that if this secret was to be known by the Imperium, that the Imperium might want to take ownership of them and everything they've built.
You came from Earth. You are Earth's.
So the more alien they are, the better. Now, this sounds fine and
Okay.
good, right? What could possibly be wrong with these guys besides the hyper late stage space capitalism? Well, we have to go back to their creation. The kin are an entirely clone-based race made from the computers that are exceptionally difficult to recreate. These machines, the Votann,
Sorry about my screen flashing.
are becoming more and more unpredictable and derelict. If anything were to happen to these machines, it would be a 2-fold ending of the kin. New kin cannot be reproduced, reducing their numbers, and the existing kin would have no further purpose because the end that awaits them would be non-existent. The horror of the
Oh, basically, Imperium man finds kin AI machine, scared of AI, destroy AI machine. Their kind of pseudo-religion way of reproducing is gone. Extinction.
The kin civilization is that the entire purpose of their lives is to do the best they can at
No
their
Valhalla.
duty and upload all they know to the Votann, their ancestor cores, join their ancestors. But doing so is actually the thing that is killing these supercomputers in the first place.
because it's redundant, it's too much data, and it's making them into an Intel Pentium single core processor 1999 home PC.
The ancestors were dead, but through the first truths their legacy continued. And though their eyes had shut long ago, indeed the ancestors were watching, not with a gaze from eons gone, but with the eyes of every living kin. Each generation was the embodiment of the ancestors cast anew by the Votann. The galaxy changed. Stars died, planets were destroyed, and civilizations fell. But as long as the Votann endured, the ancestors still lived.
Damn, and that means to lose the Votann is to like delete your dad. Or to delete your mom or your sister if she died. Actually, Pentium came out in 1993. Just right, your dad now. So like, it's like to throw away grandma's ashes. But like, okay, in the Votann, are the ancestors currently? They're uploaded, but is there any sentience awareness to it? Because we were hearing about the corruption, it was drawing a personality. So there is. So they're functioning in there, which means like to destroy the Votann is to destroy millions of sentiences, like instances of data-lyzed people. So you're getting ahead. Oops.
I do want to end this last bit with an enjoyable quote from one Kim. As you may have assumed, the Leagues of Votann.
So often people will be like, Sonny, play the fucking video. He's literally getting to it.
Votann are space dwarves with a corporate sci-fi motif, but they are still very much dwarves. They're squat, they're strong as hell, and they hold serious grudges. This time it's just more about your contracts than anything else. And so because of this, they might treat most things about how you would expect a capitalistic dwarf would treat things. You misunderstand, human. I am not here to debate. I am not here to compromise. What you see as yours, I am taking for my kindred. You want to bargain? Torek, unholster our means of negotiation. As the so it's not like a super like there's still warmongers. I mean, everyone appears to be slightly warmongery with like very limited exceptions. Some weird blood angels, the salamanders. Most people are just like, there's like honor and stuff, but like when it comes to just being like, this is mine, do people just matter? Like even the dwarves be like, dude, I'm sorry, this is mine. They're capitalism. Okay, all right, late stage capitalism in the form of tiny, short dwarves. Great Crusade continued. Humanity would find their missing Primarchs, reestablish the locations of all of their various worlds, and finally reclaim what the Emperor was always hoping for. But eventually, all the Emperor sought to build would be his undoing. His original attempt to have all of the Primarchs lead his great armies and usher humanity into the better ages would end up crumbling down. And we will learn about how the Imperium backslides and the horror of the modern day of 40k in part 2. I will see you very soon. Thank you
very soon
so much for watching.
Very soon. Ow! Guys, what do we do when we like a video? What do we fucking do, guys? Tell me. Except you already know. We give the video a like. Guys, this was a movie and it's part 1. Oh my, the detail is so good. I'm so happy.